Welcome to EternalJourney, the podcast.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of EternalJourney, the podcast that talks about all things eternal with a focus on limited play. I'm your host, Jedi, and this week is episode 74 of the podcast, where we are going to be doing this part 2 of our Argent Depths set review. We're going to be going over all the rares and legendaries of the set. First, joining me on the line, first up we have Alex. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Thanks for being here. Next up, we have another good friend of mine, is John Julio.
What's up, guys? Are y'all sick of me yet? This is we're going into hour 5 of set review. Got many hours to go.
I got at least a few more in me.
Sweet.
Yeah, not even remotely close. You talk more about your brews than you do card evaluation, so we're fine. All right, let's go ahead and get through our announcements real quick. You can catch all three of us live every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday at twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ, where we do a whole lot of drafting, occasional cube drafting, and then some constructive play from time to time. I will be streaming my ECQ runs and stuff like that if you do like your little taste of the competitive nature, or at least scouting out the competition. If not, you can catch some of our stuff offline on YouTube. That's right, just search up EternalJourney on YouTube and you'll find us, to include the video version of this podcast, so you can see all the cards we're going to be talking about on screen if you're a more visual learner. And then finally, shout out, just want to give an ongoing shout out and appreciation to all those great people of the Jedi Order, subbing the channel, donating bits, gifting subs, just hanging out, chatting, giving us their opinion on the draft format and whatnot. You guys are absolutely amazing. It's one of the reasons why we do what we do and create this podcast week after week. No pack one, pick one this week, because of course these set reviews are long ones, so we want to go ahead and dive right into it as quickly as possible to get you the information you're looking for, as clean and as efficient as possible. So with that, we're going to dive into set review, but first I want to go over our grading scale breakdown. The reason being is you're going to hear us talking about how good a card is, how bad it is, what we like about it, what we don't. But just to give you a baseline idea of exactly what or where we rate this card, we gave it a grading scale adopted by Limited Resources. We're going to use the same one. Starting off, we have A's. A's are going to be your bombs. These are cards that really can pull you ahead if you're behind, or just straight up win you the game when they are played. Cards like Strange Burglar and Grodov's Burden.
Then it's followed by the B's. It's cards that actively pull you into that direction during the draft. Cards such as premium removal. Previous examples would be cards like Waystone Gate, Defile, or Wind Conjuring.
Yeah, then you got your C's, which make up most of the body of your decks in drafts. They're like, your pawns of limited. Cards like Gravewatch Ancestor or Brood of Eremot.
Followed by the D's. The last inclusions. These are cards that you would rather not play, but sometimes you have to. Cards such as Fanatical Stranger and Frostbite Chrysalis.
Yep, and then you got your F's, cards which we consider basically unplayable in draft, or they might be good and constructed, but no interest in our draft decks. Cards like Static Discharge, Rage, Arcane Restraint. No, thank you.
Then we got a build around grade. These are cards that on their own don't measure up to much, but when drafting and you synergize with other cards, they can become quite powerful. Cards such as Mysterious Waystone and Majestic Skies.
Yeah, and then we'll also talk about market cards. Those are cards which are not really useful in every matchup, but can be very powerful if drawn from your market in specific situations in the game. Cards like Ruin and Ensnare.
Yep. All right, so that's the grading scale, and once again, that's simply just so you guys have a baseline to understand when we're going back and forth on a card, what exactly it is that we give it a rating, because sometimes we're going to talk very highly about a card and then find out we give it like a C, or talk medium about a card and still give it a B. So let's go do it. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. We're going to be going down in the order that you can find the cards on both Eternal Warcry as well as in-game if you'd like to go along with us on your own. And starting off with fire, we have From Within. This is going to be a cycle of cards. Each faction got one, and they kind of fall into a semi-tri-faction thing. So From Within is a fast spell. 1 fire, give one of your units +2/+1 charge and decay this turn. Then, or just that's it, period. Now, if you have triple Huru, so triple Justice and triple Primal, this card will transmute into a Brine Inner Strength, which is a 4/6 for 6. It reads, when a spell is played directly on one of your units, it gets a +2/+2. Surge, Brine gets Flying, Aegis, Berserk, Endurance, Killer, Lifesteal, or Overwhelm at random. So, long story short, a couple things to consider about this as well is that once it's transmuted, you do not get the front end of it. It will become that other unit. And that if you want, you don't necessarily need to be in the primary color of the card to run it in your deck, as long as you have the respective influence. Another thing about Brine is the fact that it does not say this turn, so that +2/+2 is permanent. And anything that targets that card will make that happen, whether it's a pump spell or giving it some kind of ability or a draw. You know, if you find the exhausted spells cycle from the previous set. All right, starting off with you, John.
Okay, so this is like you said, a cycle, and it's kind of a difficult to grade one. So I kind of like, this is how I graded it. The letter grade I'm going to give is for the transmute unit and not for the spell effect. I gave this one an A-. I think for this cycle of cards, like the unit is like a huge payoff for being able to produce those 3 influence consistently in the 2 factions it asked for. Just don't try and force this into your deck if you don't have the appropriate influence generation. Like, I think the combat trick is playable as well if you're in fire and you're like in dire need of interaction for your deck, but I don't think it's like great. I mean, the decay is nice because you don't get completely blown out by like opposing combat tricks that they do in response. It's like C- if you're just playing it for the spell side. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I'm like somewhere in between. I don't have it quite as high on just the unit. That was my note. I'm like, is this just a Huru unit, basically? And as that, I gave it a B- just because of how hard it is to cast, and it costs 6, right? Transmuted in order basically for that to happen. 3 and 3 color. So like that's that's not turn 6. That's like 8 maybe, or farther down the game than you would like to cast it, I think. So I gave it a C+ as an all-around card, but it's not really something I would like force, like you said, like the 3 color to get all the payoffs or whatever. Because
I feel like all of these, except for one, maybe, like you really are never gonna play all 3 factions. I think one of them, I think the Ixen one, you might try and push it and play all 3, right? But I think the rest of them, it's like one or the other, pretty much.
Agreed.
I'm close
to
Jedi.
Mix it and give it a C+ all around.
Yeah, I agree with John. I think we're gonna be evaluating these cards based on the transmute ability because they're all pretty strong. We will throw in a little bit of caveat for the actual front side of it, but I think the majority of the time we're gonna go ahead and just evaluate it for the transmute cost or unit. That being said, I think the card, I'm with John. I think it's an A. First off, as far as the actual front side of it, the +2/+1 charge decay, I think this card is more than serviceable in a fire deck. We played Desperate Gambit, and yes, I know it has the ability of hit 2 units, but sometimes only hit 1. And giving decay is definitely that insurance policy in case they have a response with a combat trick. Charge, I actually don't mind on this because if you draw one of your top end units later in the game, you could potentially surprise your unit or your opponent by having them attack that turn. I think that's quite powerful. Brine, I am actually okay giving her an A because of the fact that she gives any unit the +2/+2, not only herself, and the fact that in Huru you're gonna find a lot of spells, like for example, the Predatory Instincts version, the Primal one with the Revenge. So that's gonna, make a unit bigger and allow it to take out one of your opponent's units. So I think that's a really good combo. And Huru just has plenty of tricks to facilitate that. The other thing is I'm actually starting to be a little lower, or tax the heavy influence a little bit lower in this format, because we have so many things like symbols and the evangels and badge of honor and so many ways to generate additional influence that I actually think the triple Huru itself isn't nearly as bad as maybe 4 Justice or 4 Primal. And so actually, I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a cost, but I don't think it's as much. So I actually put it as just a straight up A. So you had a B plus, right, Alex?
It was B minus, but it could go up. That's no problem.
And I had an A minus.
Oh, okay. So what, A minus then? Can you do that?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. A minus 4 from within. I think it's a very interesting cycle. I appreciate Direwolf expanding.
Cool.
One thing to note, guys, you're going to be seeing a lot more A's and F's versus C's in the rare and legendary category. Just FYI.
Mine are kind of all over the place, so
yeah, me too. All right, Gleeful Firebrand is next. This is the 0/3 mage at 1 fire. When you play a spell with cost 5 or more, deal 3 damage to an enemy. So it can go face if it needs to. Summon, plunder. John.
Yeah, I gave this one a D plus. I thought it was pretty dorky. Like the grade, and that grade is just for jamming it in any given deck that's playing fire, right? I think if you're in the 5+ cost spells matter deck, I think this is a good payoff for that, and it's a defensive early unit in that case, and that's like a late game deck with late game haymakers typically. So it kind of fills its role there, and that deck would probably love to have it. So like I guess a build around B.
And then I gave it just a better all around grade, C plus, because the way I looked at it was like, if you get one trigger off your 0/3 for 1 that you got to plunder with, then I figured that was a decent unit, so I gave it a C plus.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm more with Alex on this one. I just, the plunder is what made it serviceable for me. I think, I mean, there's a limit to how many 5+ cards, spell cards you're gonna have in your deck, because if not, you're just making your curve too clunky. And the 0/3 will block some things, but it won't block forever. It's not doing, your opponent can just continue to attack into it. The plunder is really what kind of smooths it out. And yes, you can go face, you're going additional value, but sometimes the 3 damage isn't gonna really impact the board. Sometimes it's a complete blowout, right? You kill something big, you kill something small, and you're just on top of the world. So I think the value is there. I actually gave a C plus with Alex. So where do you guys want to even out at? Just
I forgot to do the traditional up a point for the plunder there. My bad. So I guess I would have given it a C minus in that case. That's what I did for all the other cards with plunder.
All right, we'll even it out at a C then. I think the card, the 0/3 just doesn't do enough on its own, and sometimes it's not like you're gonna sandbag your 5 cost spells to keep, you know what I mean? So if you draw this later, and yes, you have the plunder, but you already played your 2 or 3 5 cost spells, then where's the value? Versus the uncommon that makes you the Rustedins or whatever, the Rustlings. at least that they stick around, so it doesn't matter when you play it. So
right.
Yep. Lethal Firebrand, you get a C. Next up, we have Bring Anew, which was sadly one of my
Begin Anew.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Begin Anew. This is a slow spell at 3 quad fire. Discard your hand. So of note, you can always, this could be the last card you play, so you discard nothing, or it could discard all 7, 8, 9 cards. Create and draw a fire sigil and a random fire spell, unit, and attachment from your deck. Alex?
I kind of like this card. It's not that hard to set up when you cast that, and it gives you quite a bit of firepower to draw off the top of your deck. That being said, it's like only good in basically late game situations or when the board is like a stalemate potentially. So I gave it a B.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I agree. I think a very low to the ground fire deck would love this card as like a mid or late game top deck. It's like a payoff card for being both lower curve and aggressive and heavy into fire. But I don't think the payoff's busted or anything. In my experience, random cards are pretty hit or miss. But either way, you're going to end up, +4 cards there. Well, 3 anyway, if you count the one you're spending. And like, I mean, the quality might be suspect or it might be really good, but either way, you're gonna it's gonna kind of pay for itself for sure. I think, no matter how random it is. So, I give it a B minus.
Wow, I gave it a D. And the reason being is that I'm not a big fan of random cards. Plus, the fact that you want to discard your hand means you're gonna want to play it later. So there's a higher chance that you might have played the attachment or the spell that you wanted. And
No,
so,
it just generates random cards. It doesn't take them from your deck, right?
create. Oh, all right. Well, never mind. All right. What'd you guys give it?
I said B minus. I think Alex said B.
Yeah, like it's windvoking kind of.
Yeah,
Isn't
no.
It's
it?
not. No, windvoking is a million times better than
Yeah,
this.
because you get to actually pick.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay, so you pick one out of the 3,
Yeah.
but the pool is the same of the cards that it could be.
Man, it just. I mean, I guess
It
you're
is.
still up. I guess you're still up cards, but then at the same time, you could just literally get like a 1/1 or a +0 sword, or well, not fire, but yeah, I guess
I mean,
you're still.
I don't know if there's a bad fire attachment, like for example.
I mean, just the +1/+1 weapon.
Yeah. Well, that's the one that makes rustlings, right? Like that's pretty good.
No, well, shoot. I guess the cheapest one that comes to mind is just the +2/+1, the heavy axe. Yeah. So
Is
you're
that in
still
the
buffing.
format?
Is this going to be restricted to the format?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, if you play it in draft, it's restricted to the draft pool for sure. I mean,
Oh.
that's how all the other game modes in the game work. I don't know
Oh.
why this would be any different.
All right. Yeah. All right. You guys sold me. So would you guys give it B minus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm down to come down a little bit since you were so low.
All right. The random thing gets me, but the payoff is there. All right. For some reason, I guess I was homing in on the draw and skipped over the create. Or I guess I was focusing the create was the fire sigil. I don't know. Who knows? All right. Cool. Easy enough. B for
That's why we do this. That was a
begin
confusing card,
anew.
so.
Bing anew. All right. Next up, we have Egen.
Yeah, like it.
Walking Armory is a 3/3 Oni for 3 fire. When Egen attacks, gain a Justice Influence. This is also a cycle that we're going to see. When you have 6 Justice Influence, the first time you play a unit each turn, play a +4/+4 weapon on it. I am not sure if she triggers on herself or not. That's the only thing that I'm questioning. If she does not trigger on herself, then obviously the turn you play her, you can't play a unit expecting the ability because of the fact that that's the second unit you play, or the second time you play a unit that turn. But if she triggers on herself, then that's kind of cool. She'll make herself a 7/7 going in. That's kind of nice for the late game. If not, then of course only the first unit you play. So if you play 2 units, only the first one's gonna get it. John?
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on that. Now that you break it down like that, I didn't even consider that it could potentially count itself, but I don't know.
I don't think it would be a 7/7 for 3.
Yeah, my gut says it won't trigger on itself, but I honestly don't know for sure. We'll have to find out. But I still think it's a pretty solid card. I had to go read the text. I had to change my window here for a second. Sorry. So yeah, I think it's really solid, especially if you're in Rakano. I think even if your deck is lacking in symbols and other power fixing, you can kind of mitigate this with other things. If you're in Rakano with Badge of Honor and stuff like that. If you're just in fire, it's still a 3/3 for 3. Obviously there's the 2 pips on the cost, but as we've discovered, that's not a huge deal. But I wouldn't splash for a 3/3 for 3, obviously. But you know what I'm saying. With enough attack triggers, it can actually get that second ability going, I guess, without ever even actually playing any Justice Power. So I think it's pretty solid overall. I gave it a B.
I'm right there with you. I gave it a B. The reasonable floor, like you said, in fire, and you stole my badge of honor. Like if you smack that on there, you
Yeah.
get to that 6 justice pretty quick.
I think of all the factions, I think Justice kind of ramps up the influence pips more easily than all the others
Agreed. Like
in the format.
Rakano in general kind of seem to do it, but
What do you think, Jedi?
I was a little lower on it. I gave it a C plus. I still think it's great. Baseline, everything you guys said. The only additional thing I will add is the fact that it does do a good impression of a badge of honor. So it will give you an automatic trigger of surge mid combat. Just something to think about. So if you tack that on with, like you guys said, a badge of honor, you're just going to town. So I gave it a C plus, but you guys are both on B, so I'll come up to B. I think the card is good. I really do. I feel like it's the only reason why I think it has the potential of seeing itself is because of the 6 Justice influence. I think you don't have really a big chance of dropping this on 3 and it being a 7/7. So, but you know, you never know. There's high roll. You can go like symbol. No, that wouldn't even work either because then you'd be missing the double fire. Anywho, yeah, I think Ejin's gonna be where I'm good going to a B for her, and it's interesting. I don't think she's gonna trigger off herself, so she's a little bit slower than you think, but not horrible by no means. Next up, we have Vadius, Proud Duelist. This is a card that Patrick Chapin smashed me with yesterday. Gunslinger Warrior, fire 3 or 3 fire. What?
Like really, he smashed you with this card. That's really interesting. I kind of want to hear about that.
Nothing. He just played it on curve and had pump spells to keep it alive, and just, yeah.
And the disadvantage or like giving you the triggers didn't really turn out to matter in that game.
No, because I drew the unit when I was already at 7.
Right. Yeah. So interesting.
It was all on one unit. It was a big unit, but I drew it on 7, and he just went wide. So once again, it is a Gunslinger Warrior, 3 fire for 3/2. Reckless, when Vadius attacks, the top unit or weapon of the enemy deck gets a +2/+2. So of course you are pumping your opponent's deck. Summon, play a 4/4 Steel Fang, or +4 attack, Steel Fang Chakram on Vadius. So this iteration of Vadius loses Aegis, gains the Chakram as soon as he is played instead of having the ultimate for it. Alex.
This card is so strange. I saw that game and it made me think, hey, maybe the card is good, but I think it just like the way Chapin's removal, like he had a perfectly timed chemical rounds and stuff like that, and I think it looked better than I think it actually is. I gave this card a B because of, I mean, it is a lot of firepower to put out on the board. It's kind of like how we thought maybe Ejin works. Like this guy is 7 power on a unit on turn 3. So that's pretty powerful if you have ways to clear the board for it. And then getting the Chakram kind of like for free, basically. Yeah, I gave it a B just because it's too good, I think, to go lower on it. But this is a really strange card.
Yeah, this guy can punish you for sure. At the same time, most of the time, you're just gonna let it die and get the chakram back if you really need to. You know, it's up to you. Once again, like you said, Chapin really did line up his removal and combat tricks and stuff really well against my deck. And like I told John, I only drew 1 unit off of it and had 3 triggers on it. But that point, it was a little too late. But yeah, getting the chakram is a great insurance policy. So it's going to take something out unless your opponent has something like chemical rounds at the ready. And that's interesting to see if the chemical rounds hits the chakram or hits Vadius. You know what I mean? Because it will kill Vadius because he only has 2 health. But it's interesting if the -2 will go on the chakram first, making it +2/+0, or go on Vadius.
Good question, like Jedi. Oh my gosh. I don't know.
I think it only does that to relic weapons and unit.
Good call, Alex. That is exactly how Decay is worded.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that sounds very correct.
Okay.
So I don't think the chakram would get tiny. Smaller.
Okay, cool. I'm overthinking things for no reason. Excellent.
That was a good question. I also
gave it a B. John?
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with like a B. I mean, I guess I gave it kind of a. I think a B or B plus. Like I think it's like a synergy card, right? You can't just put this in your deck with no support, right? I think it has a chance to like not really matter or just trade with a low thing and kind of punish you. But I don't know, like the steel chakram is always so good in draft. So even if it just swings once and trades with something and you get the chakram, like I don't think that one attack is going to make that big of a difference in the game. Like it's probably pretty good in that worst case, right? So I think a B is pretty good because the upside is huge, right? Like this makes such a good imbue target too.
Mm-hmm.
You could
Very
like
good.
just get in that one attack and then you put those huge stats on something and then you like don't have to worry about that downside of buffing your opponent's things, and then like you really don't care when they kill your Vedias because you get the chakram. Like that's a real sweet use for them.
Yep. And now, just as a disclaimer, there are going to be times where you made their 3 cost weapon a 10/10 and they just smash your face with it. But,
Mm-hmm.
such is life. High risk, high reward.
Yep.
All right, so Vadius, you get a B. Next up, we have Furno, short for Inferno, Rageborn. This is a 3/3 Centaur for 4/5 fire. So 4 cost, 5 fire influence. And man, I'm really digging the artwork for this set. They definitely knocked that out of the park. This is one yoked Centaur. When Furno attacks, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit. Surge, increase the damage of Furno's ability by 1. What this means is that every time you surge, this thing goes up permanently. So, for example, if you play this guy and then play a symbol, then when he attacks, he'll be doing 3 damage to an enemy. Yeah, I think that's pretty strong ability. I mean, it's not rarely. Well, no, I think you can. 5 influence on turn 4 seems really pricey to me. Unless you are mono fire. If you're any kind of 2-color deck, that's still pretty tough to do on turn 4. That being said, I don't know. It's an interesting card. On the surface, if everything lines up, you can play this guy on 4. You can influence it the next turn and then get in for a ton. Obviously, it combos in with anything like Ejin or Badge of Honor to deal additional damage, I believe. I would assume that the way they programmed it, it would trigger the influence, the surge first and then deal the damage, but I could be wrong as well. Oh my god, so much interaction. That's like
These are very specific things that we're going to actually see in game, so it's good to know, but we don't know yet.
yeah. So I don't know. I gave it a B plus. I think it might be. Yeah. I think I'm okay with a B. Like, you definitely need to be primarily fire to run this guy. You're not gonna run it any other deck just because of the 5 fire influence is very tough, and there's a chance that you play it so late where even if you could surge it once, it's not gonna be enough. But it is still vulnerable at a 3/3. But the upside is huge, right? You get this thing doing 3-4 damage a turn. We already saw how powerful Jack is. So you throw a couple of combat tricks to support this guy so he kills the biggest unit, and then when they go to block, you blow him out. Like, yeah, this guy's pretty good. Alex?
Maybe I'll come up a little bit, but I have this set.
No.
Strategy.
Say what you're going to say. Let's hear it.
Well, my note says this ability that I would like to see a lot sooner in the game get going potentially. His casting cost is pretty restrictive. I gave it a D. This guy.
Okay, yeah, and that's perfectly all right. The reason why I was kind of okay with it was because of the fact that you don't have to attack with it. You know what I mean? It's not one of those things. So I figured worst case scenario, I could just sit there and gain surge until it's ready. Plus, it can always go face. But I'm cool with going down on it too. That's why I actually prefer the cards that we're different on, so we can have a more thorough discussion.
Okay, so I gave it a D minus. So I've already tried this card out for science in a draft yesterday. I do not recommend it unless you're actually in mono fire, and not just mono fire, like mono fire with like, you know, double fire and fire symbols in the deck. Like, if you don't play this on curve, like, it is never gonna do anything. Like, it dies to literally everything. Like, I played this in a few of my games. Like, first of all, never even close to at the right time. But I mean, it just got removed every time it came down. It never did anything. It's overcosted for its stats, and like that 5 fire is a really big deal on a card that you only want to play on curve. Like it's such a bad top deck in the mid to late game. So if you're in that deck I described, B- there. Everywhere else, I think it's a D-.
Sweet, you guys talked me into it. It's a D. Inferno is a D. Don't play it. Next up, this card, shout out to Gibbon Plus Plus being the designer for this card, and it is absolutely phenomenal in draft. This is a Siege Train, is a 6/4 engine for 4 fire. Overwhelm, Reckless, Summon, Secretly Choose Drifter, which is a 2/1. Piercing Shot, which is the 2 to a unit, 2 to the face, or Ember Fury Blade, which is the, let me double check, but I'm sure it's the +3/+3. Yep, that's it, just +3/+3. Just wanted to make sure. And then Entomb, play a copy of that card for each time Siege Train has attacked. So of course, you play it, you get to choose one of those 3, and your opponent does not know. And then every time you attack, that trigger, that count will go up by 1. Then whenever they are able to kill it, as long as they did not silence Siege Train in the process, then you will get playing it. So for example, if it's able to attack twice, and the second time it attacks, they kill it, then you will get 2 drifters, for example. Yeah, this card's great. The fact that it's reckless is awesome, because it's a big unit that they have to block. They can't chump block it with overwhelm, and the reckless hides the fact that whether you have a combat trick or not, because it's reckless. It has to attack anyways. John.
Yeah, it's a super solid draft card. Like this is what you get when you take somebody who loves draft, is passionate about it, and they design a card for draft to be drafted. Like I think it's an A-. Like I think it's super solid. Like the power level of the options is great, but it's like not unreasonable. Like, and the reckless balances out the upside while kind of, like you said, giving it, some potential synergy for how you play it and stuff. I think this is just a fun card. Like it's not so oppressive that you're gonna hate it by the end of the format. I think you're gonna be happy to see this every time in your packs. A-. Way to go, Given.
Yeah, I give it a straight A. It's a 6/4 for 4 that your opponent has to answer this right away or die to the extreme value that multiple attack triggers are going to grant. So great card Given. I've already loved drafting it. Straight A for me.
Yep, A here. So Siege Train, you get an A. Shout out to Gibbon Plus Plus. Definitely check him out on Twitch when you guys get the chance. He is phenomenal. Next up, Lord Ragnar. This was our spoiler card. Thank you to Sakarnan Darthenos for donate for us to spoil on stream. Lord Ragnar is a 5/7 Centaur warrior for 6 fire. Quick draw. Summon. If any of your units or relics have used their ultimate abilities, they get those effects again. Of note, it doesn't care when it used the ultimate. It didn't have to be the turn you play Ragnar. Just as long as they were played at some point in the game prior to Ragnar coming down, they will trigger again. Alex.
So 7/5 for 6. It's a great body. If you can synergize with the summon ability and somehow get a second mastery trigger, then it's an easy A. But I gave it a B+.
Yep, I also gave it a B. John?
Yeah, it's so solid. Yeah, it's not the worst on defense. Fantastic offensive card. Yeah, there's things that in the format at common. I think we've all know and love our little Blur Haze worms. That's an ultimate ability. The card draw there, for example. So if you're in Praxis and you're playing a bunch of worms anyway, you might get to draw like double of the cards. Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, I give it a B+.
Yep, the card's great. And then even the summon is just bonus, right? You're more than happy playing a 7/5 quick draw. We're playing Vadius, that's a 7/2 reckless, so a 7/5 quick draw seems good as well. Yep, B+ for Lord Ragnar. Next up, we have a cycle of the Scions. Again, these are new cards for the old-time favorites. Caleb Claimless is a 6/6 for 7 triple fire. Quick draw. Your other fire units have +1/+1. When Caleb attacks, draw a weapon of your choice from your deck. So of your choice from your deck, though. So this time, you actually have to have the weapon in your deck. John.
Yeah, he's got multiple relevant abilities, but he's not great when you're behind since it's just kind of an understated 7-drop, and he needs to attack to really get that value. And you have to have a board, if you want to get the additional value as well. I mean, I think he's still pretty good though. If you kind of build around him a little bit and definitely want to play, you want to have some weapons for him to grab, or I don't know if he'd be that great if he doesn't have at least 1 or 2 targets, like preferably 2+, I think. I give him a B+ overall.
I'm right there with that. Like, you need a little bit of a board presence for this guy to really stabilize you. That's why he's not an A for me. But yeah, I do like him at a B+.
I actually gave him a B just because it does require a little bit of building around. I think you're okay running it. 7 is a lot for the fire deck that wants to be aggressive, but I'm right there with you, John. I think you want minimum 2 weapons, and it synergizes very well with the dagger because of the fact that he's triple fire, so you're going to want some fire influence by the time he comes down. And then slapping the decay weapon on him is super strong as well. But yeah, that's fine. I can come up to a B+. I think the upside is there for sure.
All right.
All right, next up we have Arcanum Battery. This is a 6/6 Sentinel for 8 triple fire. When you play a spell with cost 5 or more, play a 5/4 Sentinel. Arcanum Battery costs 1 less for each time influence. Each of your time influence. I don't know why I hicked up there. I probably looked ahead of what I was reading. All right, I feel like this is a bit of a build around, so we'll start with you, John.
I think the card looks pretty great. There's definitely a synergy deck for the 5-cost units, and this is a fantastic payoff for that. If you can play this as a 6/6 for 6 and get 1 sentinel out of it, like, you're gonna be feeling pretty great, I think, about it. I give it a B+.
I'm right there with you. Like, if you're in, say, pack 4, you're in Praxis, this would probably be the most desired rare I'd want to see. Because
Right.
if you can, like, put this guy out any cheaper, then it becomes just crazy to me. Yeah, I gave him a B+ as well.
See,
Cool.
I was a little higher on this guy just because I don't think you're not playing this guy if you're not Praxis, right? 6/6 for 8 is just too slow, right?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because it's overcosted stats, and then you still have to once again. I just always, I don't always
Yeah.
picture worst case scenario, but I just don't knock the fact that you could not draw your 5-cost spell or have already played it. But
Like, Praxis is also the ramp deck, so, like, between the time influence and the ramping, you could get this out so early.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly why I gave it an A, because of the fact that I felt like it's gonna come down way sooner, so it gives you a chance to play that. But yeah, you're right. You get, as soon as you play 1 5-cost spell, and now all of a sudden you're getting so much value. But that's fine. You guys could talk me down into it. So what was it? B+ is what you guys gave it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good. I think that's why my grade was just it being Praxis, and I feel like it's gonna come down way sooner than that, more often than not. But all right, Arcanum Battery, you get a B+. Next up, we have Draco Shaman Circlet. This is a weapon for +5/+5 weapon. 8 cost, double fire, flying. The wielder is a dragon. When the wielder attacks, create and play a random dragon. I don't really think the wielder being a dragon is relevant in this
It's fun.
format. Yeah, fair.
It doesn't make the card any less absurd.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, go ahead, take it away, Alex.
I mean, this is like, play this card and win the game. It's very much worth 8 power. You're paying and then some to have turn a unit into a huge flyer and get another huge flyer. I mean, worst case scenario, you got a
Dragon
two
Whelp.
drop dragon, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many.
Are there any in the format? What's the smallest dragon in the format?
Oh, you're right. It'd have to be from the. It's not just any
I
dragon.
think like a 3-drop maybe is the smallest one I can think of. Like
Uh,
Burning Core Drake or the Skeletal Dragon. Those are probably the worst ones available.
you're probably right if it's the 3 drops, and then even that as a worst case scenario is okay. I love this card. I gave it a straight A.
John?
Yeah, I also gave it an A. You know, always going to replace itself the turn you play it. Only 2 influence means it can and should, with very little work in the format. It can be splashed in your draft deck. There's plenty of ways to splash a double influence card in this format, which is pretty cool actually. And so I think this is meant to be one of those cards. Easy A.
Yep, I'm right there with you guys. Covered it. It's an A. I don't quite think it's as good as the clutch for the primal, but just because that thing can make you 3 dragons like right away, but that card is right up there with it.
Right.
And it's obviously cheaper on
Clutch
the curve.
is a little less splashable though.
True.
Is
Fair
that
warning.
triple?
Fair warning. Yeah, it's triple. Okay, next up, our final fire card is Zaxo Leviathan, right? Zaxo Leviathan? That sounds about right.
Sure.
Zaxo doesn't sound smooth. Okay, Zaxo Leviathan is a 9/9 Sentinel for 9 triple fire. Decay, Overwhelm, Entomb. Play the top card of your deck. If it costs 3 or more, repeat this ability. John?
Yeah, this is kind of like the Arcanum Battery, I guess. Like I gave it a C if you're just trying to play this in any fire deck running like 19 plus power, and you have defensive tools to get you to like 9 power. But I think it's a great card if you're in Praxis Ramp deck, where in that case I would give it a build around A.
Okay.
I think, yeah, my breakdown's exactly like C, if in maybe even lower for just a normal deck, because most games you don't even get to 9 power.
Especially if you're playing fire.
Right? But if you have the ramp, then yeah, this card just becomes absurd as well.
Man, I guess my grade's whack. I gave it an F.
Oh no.
I just 9 is just so much, because look at the worm, the one that draws you a card. Sometimes it's sitting in your hand for a hot minute.
I think you can pick up as many battery mages as you want.
That is true.
Format.
That is true, but that doesn't mean they necessarily survive that long. I mean, there is plenty of ramp. There is plenty of ramp if you're Praxis for sure. Plus, the body is phenomenal, right? 9/9 Decay Overwhelm, not knocking that, but I don't know. And the Entomb I think the Entomb has the chance of going off, but it isn't completely busted too because it's random, so you never know what you're gonna get, right? It would be sweet actually if you were somehow in Stone Scar and then when it died, it took the false demise and it drew it back into your hand. But anywho,
so let's give it a D, and then let's give it a build around A or A minus or something, right?
All right, we'll give it a build around A because I definitely think the card is powerful. It's just that 9 cost to me just seems like so much in most games. But yeah, I'm good with that. We'll give it a build around. So, all right, that does it for fire. What do you guys think about the fire rares and legendaries? Since that's probably one of the ways you're gonna get pulled into that faction.
Yeah, some spicy ones in there and some duds,
Yeah, and that's normally the way we see it with legendaries. I mean, granted, I'm with you. I gave more C's out than usual, I think, but
yeah, I mean, Siege Train, I think is my favorite of the bunch.
Oh yeah, hands down.
And then I hope to see a Draco Shaman the most, probably though.
There's no like removal really like in spell form, but
yeah, true.
Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, that will take us into time, and then here's the from cycle for this one. This is from below. 1 time for a fast spell, and it kill an enemy relic. That's it. So essentially a time ruin. Transmute though for Feln. So triple Primal, triple Shadow. You get a Plasma Primordial, which is a 4/8. And when an enemy plays a spell, they discard each copy from their deck. Not really something you're going to see too much of in Limited.
Right.
At the start of your turn, play a 3/1 Plasma Globule with Killer. Once again, play a 3/1 Plasma Globule with Killer. So, yeah. I feel like that's pretty darn good because that
card's busted.
One version of Nash was making 1/1s with Killer, and that was pretty good. So
Right.
3/1s, you can just stack them if they don't have a good target. You don't
have to wait a turn.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about Blight Moth. It makes blocking absolutely atrocious for your opponent because then you could still finish things off with the Globule. Like, yeah, this card seems good to me. John?
Yeah, I gave it an A for the unit. That's just busted. That will just take over the game if left unchecked, like by itself, easy. And then the time spell side, of course, is not something I'm ever going to main deck. I don't think in this format. But relic removal makes a fantastic market card, so D-, or for the spell side or whatever. But no, just go for the unit. Like this unit's busted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so busted unit, and I'm not opposed to throwing in maybe a couple time sources if you can for the spell side of it, because it's not a horrible effect to have access to.
I wouldn't warp I wouldn't like splash just for that. Like if you have other powerful time cards, sure, and fixing.
Or like you said, you can put in your market and whatever. But I do like this card a lot. I'm with you guys.
Okay, so A for From Below if you are Feln. Next up, Wild Growth Druid is a 1/2 druid for 1 time. Decay. When you transform 1 or more cards, Wild Growth Druid gets +1/+1 permanently. Of note, it is 1 or more, so that means that even if you do multiple triggers at the same time, you will only get 1 trigger of the +1/+1. Now you can do things separately on the same turn and they will trigger individually. Like for example, you can plunder something and then transform one of your opponent's units. We have that, for example, the make something into a dinosaur card in the format.
I played that already.
What, Wild Growth Druid or the
just that 3/3 transform spell.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty playable.
Oh yeah, for sure, especially if they play like some kind of bomb or whatever. Yeah, 100%. All right, so speaking of which, John, go ahead and take it away, buddy.
Sure. I think this is like a pretty medium unit. Like I gave it a C. It stops like any 1x on the ground from attacking with the decay, which is kind of nice. And I would actively play this in my deck with 8+ ways to plunder or otherwise transform cards. But without that, it's definitely pretty medium, like C.
Yep,
could go lower.
I gave it a C as well for all the things you said, Alex.
I gave it a D. I don't like this guy.
Fair enough.
Like I'm like the plunder or transform deck. Yeah, no, I'm not D. I'm not playing this guy.
Okay, so C minus.
It would be better like if because it wants you to be like Elysian, and that's like basically the worst at doing like combat tricks and stuff. Where a decay unit, you'd love some combat tricks. So that's kind of as a meta thing. I don't know. Maybe it isn't.
All right, so
even a C.
So John, we're doing D or C minus.
Let's go C minus.
Okay, we'll do a C minus for Wild Growth Druid. Next up, Inspiring Captain is a 1/1 soldier for 2 time. Imbue. So Imbue, since this is the first time we see it, means that you will stun another one of your units, and for as long as that unit remains stunned or on the board, Inspiring Captain will get its stats, not its battle skills, just its stats. Inspiring Captain can be imbued with up to 3 of your units. So up to, it can do 1, 2, or 3 if you like. You're not required to do 3. Mr. Imbue himself, John.
Yeah, the thing I love about Imbue is snapshotting the stats of a unit I just attacked with, while using a big temporary buff effect and essentially like one for one upgrading my unit on board. It takes you down on board presence for a large unit with no evasion. That seems pretty bad. Like I wouldn't mind this in like a time market, where it could be situationally good in the right board state, but like I don't think this is just a good card at all. Like normally, um, I give it a D plus. Like I wouldn't prioritize this for your market over a good main deck card in the same pack. Like don't get me wrong, I don't think it's that even that good in your market. Like it's I just what I'm saying is it has to be a very specific situation for me to even want to play this card if it's in my hand. So like market only is my opinion.
Yeah, I give it a D as well. I'm not sure how good the ability is to like stun your whole team to get one big unit. Seems like you can maybe get blown out a little bit by that with another stun
Right?
effect. Yeah, I don't. And then it's just a 1/1.
They just permafrost your
Yeah,
your
and then you
inspiring
don't have any
captain. And they just
blockers.
wiped your board. Unlucky.
Yeah, I'm D with this guy.
Yeah, I'm with you guys as well. I give it a D. The only thing I think the upside is to this guy, if they really should have given him Overwhelm. I think if he had
Right?
Overwhelm, it would have made him better. But I think the only real application for this guy, being able to, like you said, essentially permafrost your entire team, is the fact that it allows you to kind of maybe cash in those 2/2s and 2/3s from earlier in the game that are kind of outclassed in the late game. You can stun two of them to make this guy like a 5/6 or a 6/6 that's a little more relevant. But once again, like that's super medium. So I'm with you guys. It's a D for inspiring captain.
That's interesting. Maybe like endurance or something like that would have been more interesting. Yeah.
The
Anything.
the awkward part about it too is the fact that it's inspiring captain, right? So it makes your army inspired to go fight, but then in game it stuns them so they don't do anything.
Flavor fail.
Yeah.
Right.
Shameful.
Inspired to sit and watch me fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm inspiring you, right? Are you inspired yet? You watching this?
Yeah.
Weird player.
All right. Next up, we have Master Conjurer. This is a 1/5 mage for 3 time. When Master Conjurer attacks, gain a Primal Influence. For 6 Primal, when you have 6 Primal Influence, when you play your second spell in a turn, play a 4/4 Storm Dancer with flying. Once again, every time it attacks, you get a primal. When you have 6 primal influence, when you play your second 2 different spells in one limited turn, play a 4/4 Storm Dancer with flying. Now, granted, after seeing a little bit of this format, I think it is a little more feasible there is the capability of playing 2 spells a turn, a little more consistent if you want to go the beseech the throne and spin your wheels, draw card type thing. There is a way.
Revenge is a thing too.
Yeah.
That can be your first spell on any given turn.
Yeah.
And it just pops out for free.
Yeah, except it's random. That's the only thing. But and it's still 1/5 for 3. That does a little bit of work in this format. Not great against decay, but it's decent against everything else. I don't know. John, you like dirtly cards.
I do. I gave this one a C plus. I think it's like a serviceable body with massive upside if you can capitalize on it, which I really don't think it's that hard. You would just play around it a little bit if you've already got it in play. You'd sandbag just one of your spells and maybe like get a revenge thing going and just hold your second spell, for that turn or something. I mean, you'd be super happy just to get 1/4/4 flyer out of this. Like that would be amazing. But I think a lot of games it'll just sit there for the most parts, but it's still fine. In that case, it's a C plus.
You're right though. Getting a 4/4 flyer is phenomenal, and I mean it's in time, so you do have access to Forget, which is a 1 cost spell.
Yeah, there's plenty of cheap spells. Like if you just sandbag and like play, if this is if know this is in your deck, it's in play already. Obviously, like then you just want to hold that spell because you really want to get that payoff.
Mm-hmm. And then of course it does exactly what that type of archetype wants to do, where it's a big blocker on the ground, so your flying units can kill your opponent. Alex?
Yeah, it's one heck of a blocker. I gave it a C.
Yep, I gave it a C as well. So we'll round it out at an even C for Master Conjurer. All right, next up we have Rebuild. This is a Slow spell at legendary for 3 quad time. Revenge. You gain 1 health for each of your units. You get +1 power this turn for each of your fire influence. John, make me like this card.
That's not a draft card. That's an F.
That is an F as well.
Yep. Okay, cool. We're agreed. Rebuild gets an F from everybody.
It wants you to have a lot of the both kind of powers that it is involved with. Yeah, no.
Like, maybe if Flame Blast was in the format, then maybe, because it could generate a ton of power, but overall,
F.
Yeah, don't play it.
Hard
All right.
pass.
Yep, I agree with you guys. I'm not even gonna try to justify it. Oobstat, the savior. Ubstat.
Like-
It's Tazboo backwards, so
Yeah.
Oops.
But it's not actually Tazboo, right? Or is it?
Well, yeah,
But
it's like the Lumen versus the
Radiant. Yeah, but
yeah.
what I'm saying is it's a different.
They haven't
entity.
explained that yet. We
Oh,
don't
okay.
know.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think pretty early on people cat on the fact that it was Tazboo backwards. We'll have to wait for the story to find out if this is the flip side to Tazboo or if it's just his counterpart. Anywho, 6/5 Radiant for 4 power and 5 time influence. When the enemy player plays a unit, you gain 1 health. Summon, silence each unit in the enemy player's hand. Alex?
This guy is so annoying to play against.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean the casting cost is a little restrictive, as you mentioned there, Jedi, but it's still, I mean, it's a very high worst case scenario if you get the influence. So I gave it a B.
Okay, and John?
I gave it a B also. It's great stats for a 4 cost, and if you're in mostly or mono time, and you can reliably get this out on 4/5, like that summon effect can be a real blowout. Like it's like a super Grodos favored in that case. Like somebody did this to me yesterday, and I was very upset. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
It ruined my chances for the game straight up. Like the 5 influence really makes it a tough ask, so it loses some marks, I think, for that tension there, because the timing is kind of important here, for playing this card right. And like, don't play this card if you can't reliably get that influence by like turn 6 or so. But I gave it a B.
Okay, I was a little higher on it than you guys. I gave it a B plus. Yeah, with plunder, with decay, with imbue in this format, they silence multiple units can just be super powerful. But of course, you want to play it as soon as possible. But yeah, that's fine. You guys talked me down to it. It's fine with a B. And the body's relevant.
Like,
Man, a 6/5 on 4. Gosh, that's like so hard for your opponent to come back from if they don't have something.
Or even like later in the game, it's just as good. Like after a reality snap, and you can like snipe the units you want to silence and stuff. Yeah, it's a good unit.
Okay, moving right along, we have delay. This is a fastball for 5 time. You have 2 options. Or wait, well, first, negate an enemy spell and put it into the enemy hand. So of course it just puts it back into their hand. It doesn't straight up counter it. Play a Minotaur with attack and health equal to that spell's cost. Or play a Minotaur with health and attack equal to your Justice influence. John?
I bet we're gonna have some different ratings on this one. I guess I'll just go ahead and preface this and say I'm probably a little high on it in general, because I'm also the guy that plays Backlash in drafts and likes it. Uh, like this is more of a multi-use synergy card, right? Like it checks a bunch of boxes for synergy in the format: 5 cost spell, fast spell, Justice influence, payoff, like etc. This would be on my list of potential cuts if I'm just a time deck playing this as interaction. But ultimately, I think it's a pretty good card, even in its average bad case. I give it a B minus.
Alex?
I was a full letter grade lower. and I have this in a current deck because I have to try it. But it seems like it's an expensive counter with upside, or basically a big vanilla unit. Um, but it is fast, so yeah, this is an interesting card. C minus for now. C minus.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was lower than both. I was a grade below that. I was actually at D. I was at D plus. I think you 100% need to play this if you're gonna play it in Combre. I just 5 even. The thing is, it's not straight up a counter spell, right? They get the counter spell. They get the spell again the next turn. Um, and 5 to leave up 5 is so difficult and limited. You really have to get to the point of the game where you have nothing else to do because you're just slowing yourself down on tempo so much. And then the flip side to that, the insurance policy, obviously, that you just play a big unit. I give some credit there because Justice can definitely ramp out some serious influence. So you can make a big unit, but much like you said, John, it's a vanilla unit. So even if you make a 10-10, they have
Why don't you think that it counters the spell? It just says negate, doesn't it?
and put it into the enemy hand.
Oh, okay. Man, really? I swear I read this card like multiple times just to make sure, and I still missed that. Are you kidding? Ugh. Like all these other time spells do that. So I was like, wow, this one actually negates it? Oh my god.
Yep,
Wow.
no,
Okay.
it's
Well,
all right.
I'd be a grade lower than with Alex then in that case.
Yep. Okay. So what did you guys get? A straight C?
C minus
C
then.
minus.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll do a C minus. Yeah, I trust me. Hey, at least you misread one because I've misread
Yeah.
2, 3 already. So fair enough. I mean, granted, yeah. All right. So yep, that's the delay. I think it's C minus. Yeah, the fact that they get to play the card again, it just and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play this in anything that wasn't Combre personally. I don't think I'll play this card anyways. But anyway, this next one should be a pretty quick one for us. Epoch. I don't know. Infestation is a 10-10 clock roach. So meme away constructed players. 5 time. So super undercosted for the stats. Woot woot. Epoch Infestation can't attack or block unless you have played 2 or more spells or cockroaches this turn. Surge, move each spell and cockroach in your deck up 1 card. Is cockroach the regular cockroach in the draft pack?
I don't think there's any other cockroaches in draft.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think this card's an F. Personally, the fact that it doesn't have overwhelm or anything, even if you do get to trigger it to attack and or block, I mean blocking is fine because it's probably gonna kill and stay alive with whatever it blocks. But
How are you gonna block? You have to do 2 spells or something?
Yeah,
to
2
block?
fast spells.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
never happening.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this card's an F. Just don't play it. Well, I take that back. I'm sorry. I guess it's a phenomenal imbue target. So there's that. I don't know, John.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's a thing. I don't know if I don't know if I'd play it for that. Like, there's not enough silence in the format, like to be cheeky with that, right? Like, I think most of the silence, if not all that they added, is specifically for enemy units. I think it's only playable in the draft format as a time market option versus an armory deck. Like in that case, a huge unit like that, that's a real issue if your opponent is like trying to go big with relic weapons, which I've seen plenty of that, people trying that out. So that's the only time I think I would play this is in a time market in draft. Otherwise, it's an F.
Yeah, this will be my most common, probably my most seen pack one pick one rare will be this card. It's an F.
Okay, I think we spent entirely too much time on F personally, but hey, that's all right. It was fun to talk about it. I do like your point though.
Hey, you guys actually pointed out the scenarios where it could be useful, so that's good.
Yeah, fair enough. We try to give people the options. Anywho, I digress. Next up, Lumen Defense is a fast spell for 5 time. Play a 1/3 Wisp with flying and endurance for each attacking enemy unit. Alex?
So I guess a bunch of 1/3s out of nowhere really messes up the combat math. But then again, you don't really have control of how many units are swinging over, so I gave this card a C plus.
Okay, John?
I also gave it a C plus. Like with literally zero synergy. Like I think this is a fine card in like a time deck. I don't think it's great or anything. I think the grade goes up a little bit if you're in the spell in the enemy turn or 5+ synergy deck, but mostly C plus.
I gave it a D actually because of the fact that it's just so dependent on what your opponent's doing, and the better this card gets is when your opponent's already kind of smashing face, right? If they're attacking with a bunch of things, this card gets better, but then your opponent's attacking with a bunch of things, and you can't dictate how they do it. So I gave it a D, but I can go to a C minus, I guess, to kind of even out with you guys. I mean, it could be a
Alright.
blowout against the go wide deck, but even then, if they are attacking with a bunch of rustlings, you can't even block with your wisp because they have decay. So I don't know. That's fine. It's fine. I'll come up to a C. I don't think it's too committal to go to a C for this card. I just, once again, leaving up 5 power, and then your opponent can easily attack a way that doesn't work out the best for you with Lumen Defense, and then you're stuck deciding whether you need to use it or not, etc., etc. But yeah, it has the usual synergies for fast spell and 5 cost. Okay, next up we have Shadowlands Wanderer. This is a 3/5 Radiant for 6 time. It has Ambush. Shadowlands Wanderer costs 1 less for each of your Shadow Influence. Summon flying this turn. John.
So I gave it a C, and that's if you're just a time deck that likes playing cards in the enemy turn. I think it's closer to a B if you're like a Xenon deck, though. Casting it on 3 or 4, I think is really good, right? It'll like eat, and it'll definitely eat an attacker, I think, in that case. And then it'll get to attack on the following turn with its pretty solid stat line for if you're paying around that much for it. It's definitely not busted or anything. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. It's so like worst case scenario, if it's you paid 6 for it, it's okay,
Right.
right? But if it's even reduced a little bit, then it becomes pretty good. So like I just gave it an all around B minus.
Okay.
I liked it for all the reasons you guys said. I actually gave it a C plus though, but I can come up to B minus because there's a good chance it's gonna kill something when it comes into play. So yeah, we'll give Shadowlands Wander a B minus.
Okay.
And let me double check. All right, 2 cards left. Okay. Tuvon Skybreak Giant is a 7/7 giant for 6 triple time. Overwhelm Ambush. Pay 4 to give Tuvon +1/+1 and draw a card. Then increase this cost or the cost of this ability by 1. So first time pay 4, it becomes an 8. Second time pay 5, give it just the cost. So pay 5, give it a +1/+1 to make it a 9/9 and draw a card, etc., etc. Alex.
So it's a 7/7 for 6 with upside. Yeah, this card is an A. Play this card. It's insane.
Yep, big stats with Overwhelm is always a plus, means you can't chump block it, and then the Ambush definitely means that this thing's going to eat something on the way in, unless you're already winning, your opponent's not attacking. John.
Yeah, it's a busted draft card. That's an A for sure.
Yep, A from me as well. Tuvon Skybreak Giant is an A. Hopefully I'll be skybreaking some people with it. Hopefully.
Hope so.
Talir Timeless. This is the Scion for time. Obviously, we've seen her before, but for new players, welcome to Eternal. 6/6 Scion for 7 triple time. Overwhelm. Your other time units have +1/+1. When Talir attacks, play the top card of your deck for free. Of note, this could include power. And then it could play absolutely everything else. Combat tricks, slow spells, units, weapons, weapon relics, all that stuff. It plays it, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it plays it. If it has a summon effect, you will get that summon effect happen when you play it. John?
Yeah, like if I get her, in pack 1, I'd prioritize things like killer effects and ways to enable her attacking, like metal and things like that too. You really want to get that on attack trigger going. but she's like only a 6/6, right? So it's not, without some support, that's not the easiest thing to do. However, she's still a solid body ish. But with that time specific Horn of Plenty effect while she's in play, like that's gonna be pretty good in any time deck. I already played her in a draft, and I was pretty pleased with her. And yeah, like I did have killer and metal and things like that. She was very good in my games. I gave her a B+.
Okay, Alex.
So I'm just a little bit higher. I gave her an A-. You might not always be able to attack freely to get the trigger, but that's such a powerful effect. So yeah, I was a little higher on it, A-.
Yeah, I gave it an A- for that reason too. So I don't know. Can we talk you up to an A-, John? Maybe a Legion.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
there's two different factions that make an attack, and then if you're in Cumbria, you have a ton of pump spells, etc., etc. So yeah, I think an A- for Talir is completely serviceable.
Yep.
Okay, and that does it for time. Times feels very middle of the way. It has some busted ones, and then a good amount of meh ones, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, it's not well balanced, it seems like, but the ones that are good are really good.
Yeah, Tuvon. Oh man, I really hope I get to play that in draft sometime.
Yeah, you and me both for sure. Of course, I'll draft it and just never see it, but such is life. All right, going into Justice, we have From Anguish. This is that that's not Macdo, right? Probably just some random person. Anywho, slow spell, 1 Justice. Kill a unit with 5 attack or more. It gets void bound. That's sweet. Transmute. It is triple fire, triple shadow for Stone Scar, and you gain a 5/4 burning cruelty, or you transmute into a burning cruelty. 6 cost. At the start of your turn, play the top card of your deck. If it's a unit, it gets charged and deadly. Period. Permanently. Pay 5 to give a unit +5 attack this turn. John.
Yeah, that's an A, right? Like the unit, again, we're talking about the unit. Like easy A, right? Like it's another busted card. Like obviously don't try and force this in your deck if you don't have the appropriate influence generation. I think the justice spell side is also solid on this one. It's like solid but situational removal. And I think I'd be happy to include it in a justice deck for that alone. There should usually be a target for this eventually in an average draft game, and it doesn't suffer from the huge tempo loss from playing this effect at 5 power like we're used to. Still I'd rather just go for this as a transmute like any day of the week, but I think this might be like, is this the best one on both sides? What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Alex?
Yeah, that was my note. It's the best overall, the from spells or whatever. But yeah, I don't mind that in a justice deck at all. And then the unit is just bonker, so I gave it an A as well.
Yep, exactly. 5 attack matters, right? We have a cycle of weavers, so
right,
that care about 5 attack. So yeah, and absolutely amazing. The unit is a modified version of Totem Pioneer, and that thing won games on its own. So yeah, both sides of this card, it's just a straight certified A. All right, next up we have Equalize. This is a slow spell for 3 power and then 4 justice. The player with the most units must sacrifice units until they are equal. The player with the most cards in hand must discard cards until they are equal. So of note, these happen separately, and so one person can have more cards than the other, and the other person can have more units than the other. It's not one-sided in that method. It obviously affects both sides of the board, so keep that in mind. As far as you playing it, realize that you playing it means you're going to have 1 less card in your hand when you're doing the math. And then, of course, essentially, if you have 0 units in play and you play this, then your opponent will have to sacrifice all their units. Of note, if you have even just one unit in play, they will get the chance to pick what units get sacrificed. So obviously they will keep their best unit. John?
Yeah, this is it's super good from behind. I gave it an A minus just because it can't actually win you the game on its own. But it's super good. Board wipes are usually fantastic and limited. And this one has the potential to hit enemy hands as well. That's pretty good. Like, obviously, you need to be mostly in Justice to really play this by the time you need it. And you want to prioritize relic weapon synergies, I think, when you play this, since they aren't affected by the board wipe, while simultaneously reducing your cards in hand so that you can capitalize on both sides of the effect to the most extent. A minus.
Alex?
Yeah, I just gave this card an A just because of how you can wreck your opponent because you know you have it and they don't. Reminds me of Balance card for Magic, which was a old school awesome card that I have a lot of great memories from. So maybe it's a little bit of nostalgia, but yeah, I gave it an A.
See, and I actually gave this card a B because of the fact that you have to consider both the hand and the board wipe aspect of it. So yeah, as a board wipe, any board wipe in limited is absolutely backbreaking. Shoot, I lost a game that I was almost about to win the other day to Shinra Speaks. But the fact that it also hits your hand, so in limited, typically you'll run out a unit or two so you can hide the board wipe, right, and just trade or whatnot. But so that means that you're keeping more cards in your hand, unless obviously, like John stated, that you're using things like relics to still dump your hand, but not lose value. So the fact that sometimes it's still gonna kind of get you, I think makes it a little more restrictive. Obviously, the hand thing is great later if you're playing against some kind of deck where they're just drawing a ton of cards and you're not. You can top deck this, play this, and even out the board and take a bunch of cards out of their hand. But I think the fact that it also hits your hand makes it a little bit harder than just a clean board wipe in limited. So that's why I gave it a B. So where do you guys want to come down on it? You guys want to stay at A, or do you want to come down to B?
Let's go A minus.
Okay. A minus for Equalize. The card is good. It definitely has some blowout potential. This one I think is certified good. This card is just so good. Inspiring Leadership is a relic for 3 Justice. When you play a unit, you may set another one of your units to the same attack and health. So your 2/2s and your 2/3s that are outclassed a little bit later in the game, or even on turn 4 when you're in Justice and you play one of your various 3/5s or 3/4s, you can make one of your 2/2s become a 3/4 or a 3/5. And then later in the game, if you're Combre and you play a 5/5, then you can make your 2/2 Evangel into a 5/5 Lifesteal. This card is just really, really good. I think undeniable certified A. And it being 3 cost means it's not too expensive to take a turn off somewhere to play this because you can play it fairly early. John?
See, I give it a B just because it has the usual downside of any relic that does nothing when you play it. The upside here is real though, for sure. One thing, I've played this and I had a bunch of imbue in the deck, and it's really I kept on doing this. I kept accidentally like changing the unit I was trying to imbue with huge stats into a 1/1 because I kept like it was doing the effects in reverse and it was just messing me up. Anyway, be careful with that. It does have
Very good point.
anti
Very good point.
synergy, and it synergizes both ways with imbue, because obviously you don't want to play a 1/1 and then make something a 1/1, but when you later on play a bigger unit, you can do it to the otherwise 1/1 imbue unit, and it'll buff that base stat, and then it'll keep the imbue on top of it. So it actually does work like that. It's pretty sweet. So just something to consider, because there's a lot of that, in Justice and in the format. But yeah, like, there's going to be some games where it just doesn't really do anything based on your draws, and you just get kind of run over or something like that. So that's why for me it's a B. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, it was because of that reason. More like it's potentially very awkward. Usually, you just want to play your units and the way you get them, taking off a whole turn. So I'm way lower. I gave it this card a C plus.
Okay, well then I guess we'll have to even out at a B for inspiring leadership, and we'll have to find out where we sit on it after we play with it and against it. But yeah, interesting, nice, I like that. So we'll even out at B then, since we went A, B, C. So all right, inspiring leadership.
Works for me.
It's very good points though, John. I appreciate you mentioning that interaction because I'm sure that will get people for sure.
I like did I like when it happened the first time, it still just kept happening. Like it was just so counterintuitive, the targeting. And actually, I saw LSV and BK was in chat, and they mentioned some targeting and hinting and things that they were working on. So hopefully that's included there. Because yeah, but anyway.
Okay. Next up, we have Oscar. Chief Tinker is a tinker for 2-5 or at 2-5. It's a 2-5 tinker. There we go. Jeez, English. 3 justice. When Oscar attacks, gain a shadow influence. When you have 6 shadow influence or more, when you sacrifice a non-Valkyrie unit, it becomes a Valkyrie with flying. At the end of your turn, play it from your void. So of note, nothing changes on the unit other than the fact that it gains flying and becomes a Valkyrie. It's still the same stat line, etc., still the same colors. It does come back. Of note, you have to sacrifice it. It's not when it dies. So that is a little bit of a keyword, but obviously this is an Argent Port card, and Argent Port is the sacrifice deck in this format. 2-5 stats for 3 is 100% serviceable. It means it can attack fairly well or safe to get you that influence. So yeah, Alex.
Just what you said, the 2-5 for 3, that pretty much blocks everything. It's a really good payoff for sacrificing units, and that's what Shadow does really good. So I gave this guy a B.
John.
I gave this the same grade as like I think Master Conjurer. I thought like there's some cards that are kind of similar like that. I gave it a C plus just because of the base case. But it is really quite good if you're like either the Argenport Armory deck, because there's also those Justice Paladins at 3 for easy sacrifices there too. And then there's also there's heavy shadow payoff cards and surge synergies, where in those cases I think the rating is a B. But yeah, base case C plus.
Okay, so we will even out at a B minus for Oscar. Okay, moving along, we have Silver Crest Purifier. This is a 1/1 Paladin for 3 Justice. Lifesteal, Surge, double Silver Crest Purifier's health and attack this turn. John?
Yeah, I think the low case here is pretty, it's like quite low. Like I give it a C. I do think like if your deck has a good amount of weapons for this, or other ways to grant permanent buffs, as well as trigger multiple surges in a turn, like with dual powers and things, I think the value here goes up, but it's it requires a lot of support cards to be good. So just a C for me.
Alex?
Exactly same grade. C, unless you really have some double surge stuff going on, this unit's pretty middle of the road for me.
Yep, I actually give it a D plus because I just, by itself it does nothing. If you draw it late, it's even worse. I think the best combo this thing probably has is if you have the, and I forgot the name of it, but the fast spell that doubles a unit's attack and health and gives you 2 influence. And even then, I don't think the sequencing works the way I want it to.
No, it doesn't. It always does the influence after on those spells, unfortunately.
Yeah, so yeah, I think you have to do too much work for this card to be good. So I gave it a D plus, but you guys both gave it C's, right?
Yes.
All right, so I guess we'll go C minus then.
All right.
All right, next up we have this card is definitely no C. This is Tellet the Iron Gate. This is a 5/5 soldier for 4 power and 5 justice influence. So here's the one for this cycle. Surge, enemy units get -1 attack permanently, and your relic weapon gets +1/+1 armor and attack. Alex?
This card's great. It only takes a couple of surge triggers to give your opponent basically a team of walls, which is they're not very good at attacking. Yeah, this guy's an A.
John?
Yeah, I give him an A minus. Like he's pretty busted. I think if you can cast him even by like turn 7 or 8, I think you'd still be perfectly happy. Easy A though, if you're also capitalizing on the relic weapon synergy he's got going on there. What do you think, Jedi?
Yeah, he's busted. He's great. I had it. I haven't had the fortune of playing him yet, but I had him played against me, and even playing him late in the game, it was actually almost worse for me because the opponent, sure enough, knowing they had him in hand, was sandbagging a symbol. So I had a pretty good board state. It was kind of board stall, and then he literally played the symbol, shrunk down my board, and then I think the next turn top decked a relic weapon, so he got to kill something, and then every power he got after was just. I managed to win that game barely because I had a bunch of flyers and he didn't have any flyers. But oh man, it was down to the wire for sure. I mean, literally.
Yeah. Like relic weapons never look better than when you're staring down a bunch of 0 attack enemy units. Oh my gosh, you just pick them off one at a time.
Yep. Okay. Gate of Hope is the only site that was added to the format. And actually, I like the fact that they're willing to just kind of occasionally throw in a site randomly to fill in some gaps. I like it.
That's perfect.
Yep. Gates of Hope is once again a site with 5 armor, 5 health, 5 something, 5 durability.
Is that right? Durability? I think that's the word.
Yeah. I think it's durability as well. 5 durability. It is a 5 cost double justice site yet again. When one of your units attacks, you gain 1 armor is the static ability on it. And then it has Kasava's agenda, which, hold on, I gotta tab out. Okay. You get harmless question, stun an enemy unit. Inspire, the top unit or weapon of your deck gets a +1/+1, draw a card, and strength of many. Give one of your units +1/+1 this turn for each of your units. And then finally, Kasava Trueheart. If you guys remember, you may not remember her because she actually comes off of a spell, but she is a 0/6, I think, paladin for 5. She has lifesteal, and then attack or plus attack equal to your armor. When you gain health, gain that much armor. So she essentially fuels herself to get bigger and bigger. John.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good limited card. I gave it a B+. I think like worst case, it saves you at least 5 points of damage while drawing a card and buffing your next unit or weapon draw. And like best case, it generates a ton of value and a really good limited unit in Cassava. And there's a ton of available synergies like for her in the draft format. So I think you could, easily, if you pick this early, capitalize on it, more than if you get in like the last pack or something. But yeah, it's pretty solid. What you want in a site also is like an ability to protect itself, and that it has a stun. So if the opponent has a board and you have no board, there's still a chance that you can literally just play this and stun their biggest unit, and then they can only attack it for like 1 or 2, and it has 5 durability. Like that's huge for a site. So it might even survive like an extra turn just right then and there. And then you get a draw and you get to deploy some threats there. The next turn, I think it'll be pretty good. B+.
Alex?
What do you think, Jedi?
Pretty much everything John said. It makes your opponent change their game plan, and it has, at the very least, you're gaining some life if you have flying units, and it gains you if you have a relic weapon. Man, this is going to set you up real nice. It draws you a card, it stops a unit, and it allows you to. Strength of Many is probably the weakest one out of all of them, honestly, just because Inspire can at the very least draw you a card with a little bit of upside. John already talked about Harmless. So
generally you want to be defensive when you have a site in play anyway. Like the Strength of the Many is kind of out of place there, I think.
Yeah, I don't think this site defends itself enough, really. Other than it's burly with the 5 durability. Yeah, I just I think you really need the relic synergy stuff going on, or else I don't think it's very good. I gave it a D.
What?
Oh wow. I mean, it's Injustice. It's Injustice, so you have so many like overstated units, right? You have 3 5s, you have 3 4s, you have 4 flyers. You have, if you go to the draft packs, you have the 3 7. I think you can put up a decent defense for this card. Plus, it's in the colors of Audacious Ruse, so I don't know. I
put this in the category of sites that are playable on their own, right? Like it
Mhm.
literally protects itself with the stun. Like there's some sites that you still play even though they can't protect themselves, but those mostly just get wrecked. Like I think, and with that man five, oh, I'm like I think this is I think I don't know. I think you might be a little underestimating this one, Alex.
No, I probably am. If you guys are both high on it, it's just
Okay, well,
And
even
I mean, have you ever played Cassava? Like, or in like, I've played her in draft, so she's busted. Like,
yeah.
this is
No,
a
it's prob-
sweet payoff unit too.
mm,
like usually the site doesn't get to its payoff. And also like I don't buy into the your opponent's gonna freak out. Like, yeah, they might. I'm not gonna freak out. I'm just gonna keep attacking your face.
Your average opponent definitely gets a little crazy anytime there's a site in play.
Yeah. So like
That's like a an observable phenomena.
I try to the site's out there and you give it more power than it has. You know what I'm saying? By not
Hmm.
attacking the opponent. Um, but yeah,
okay,
I'm
we'll,
obviously willing to come up because I
we'll
don't
we'll
want
go
to.
with B minus. We'll go with B minus
Okay,
for
fair.
Gates of Hope.
All right.
Okay, next up we have Tavrod Auric Financer. This is a 5/7 Minotaur for 5 triple justice. Summon each other unit attack and health become the lower of the two. Of course, this hits both sides of the board, so it will hit your units as well. So if you have a 1/5, i.e. like the Paladin, the Siphoner, it will become a 1/1. And if your opponent has, for example, a 5/3, it will become a 3/3. Entomb. Draw a weapon from the top 5 cards of your deck and give it +5 attack. Discard the rest. That is quite relevant. So, Alex, where are you at on Tavrod?
Well, this is 5 power. I like spending a power on. Yeah, you can't. You can. Sorry, you can't. You can really craft your deck around this guy to not be impacted at all by the downside. I gave it an A.
Okay, John?
I give it an A minus. Yeah, it's solid, and you can really capitalize on that summon effect if you draft around it. Like, I think we've all seen the Wombo combo in the format with the you play the Audacious Ruse first, and then Tavrod, like shrink all their attacks to 0 with that, and then just wipe. It's a one-sided board wipe. Then, and like, it's not that hard if Justice is open to have at least 2 of those in your deck. Yeah, that's Tavrod's pretty good. What do you think, Jedi?
I initially wanted to give it a B because sometimes the summon effect can kind of be an issue for you. Sometimes it just means you aren't always able to slam it, but you're 100% right, and that's what moved me back into the A range. It's in the same colors as Audacious Ruse, and those just you always see them in draft. Always, if no one's in Justice, you're gonna see them. And yeah, just that combo of being able to completely wipe your opponent's board is just so good. So yeah, Tavrod's an A for me.
All right.
And obviously upside if you hit the Entomb. Okay, next up we have Svetya Lightbringer. This is a 5/5, the Scion for this one. Actually, I guess, I didn't realize it. They get 2 Scions. 6 power, triple justice. Aegis, I like that. Surge, each unit in your deck gets a +1/+1. And then summon, the enemy players can't play units until the end of your next turn. So that also prevents ambush units from coming down on the board. And then of course the Surge, once again, just to reiterate, it is not units on the board, it is units in your deck, and only units, not weapons. Alex?
This card is my current bane in constructed games. Seems pretty good and limited as well. I mean, this card's an A, right?
Yeah, easy A. Busted draft card.
Okay.
Yep. Good across the board for so many reasons. Svetya Lightbringer, you are legit.
Yes.
All right, now we have the Massive Great Sword. This is a relic weapon, +7/+7 for 7 double justice. Massive Greatsword can't be killed except by reaching 0 armor. What this means is things like Ruin and that I don't know, from whatever the time when it destroys relics, cannot destroy greatsword. It has to literally be damaged so the armor falls below 0. That's the only difference. Other than that, everything else that you expect from a relic weapon is true for massive greatsword. John?
Yeah, I gave this one a B. I think it's solid removal. And there's plenty of available synergy in the format, mostly in Argent Port or Mono J. Can't be killed means the chances of you getting at least a 2-for-1, I think, go up significantly from like a vanilla weapon. Yeah, pretty solid. What do you think, Alex?
I'm a little lower, C plus. It's a maybe I'm comparing it to Shugo's hook sword a little too much. But you're gonna get a 2-for-1 out of it. You're just not gonna get 2 2s. So yeah, I gave it a C plus.
See, and I'm actually higher than both of you, and I don't know if that's because of my armory fascination or not, but I give it an A, and the reason why is the fact that it's justice. So it's too easy to pick up the Smog Wing Tinker that gives you 4 armor and still a really good unit, so you're not really sacrificing much in your deck to play the Tinkers, and that gives you 4 armor, which makes this thing a 7-11. That is absolutely huge. And then, of course, you have the Siphoner Paladins that could potentially make this thing a 10-10. So I think because of those reasons, I actually went higher on this guy and gave him an A. Because, yeah, I think you're very hard-pressed to not get at least a 2-for-1 off this guy. Or
I think it's an easy synergy A, but like just, base. That's why I gave it a B. Like just base case, and like you could even splash this, right? Because it's just 2 pips.
Yeah. For sure.
So.
7's a cost, but I think it is doable, especially if you're in Combray, especially. But I've seen Argentport get up there as well with this card. Okay, I mean, sure. I'll come down to a B. I'm sorry, yeah, a B. We'll do a B.
I could do B or B plus.
We'll do a B because we have A, B, C again, so we'll just even it out at B.
Okay.
All right, and then finally the second scion for Justice here is Roland Merciless. That's right, Roland is back. 6/6 scion for 7 triple Justice. Endurance. Your other Justice units have a +1/+1. When Roland attacks, play 2 3/2 soldiers. Of note, these soldiers are not attacking. They will just come into play, but they do get the bonus from Roland, so they are immediately 4/3s for as long as Roland stays alive. And yeah, endurance is great. Means they can attack and block. Alex.
So Roland seems a little bit win more to me. It's like a little slow at stabilizing the board, but it's still a really good card. I gave it a B plus.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that, Alex.
Okay, see, and man, and I gave this guy an A, and I'll tell you why. Once again, going into its faction. Justice gives you access to the double your power or double your stats spell. It gives you access to Finest Hour. It gives you access to Audacious Ruse. So I think you have a way of essentially making sure that Roland can attack multiple times at not too high of a deck cost, because those are actually cards you want to play in your deck anyways.
That's a good point.
The other side to that is that even if you attack and Roland trades, right? As long as you attack with all the scions, you're going to get some value back. Roland is a known quantity. You're guaranteed to get at the very least 6/4 worth of stats back. And you're going to take a card or 2 away from your opponent, right? Unless they straight up remove it, obviously. But if they have the double or triple block to kill Roland, you're only essentially losing 2 health on the board. So I think that's why I feel, for the most part, that Roland is probably one of the easier scions to kind of facilitate, if that makes sense. So that's why I put him at A.
Basically convinced me to come up.
Alex, what about you? You're still low?
I mean, I'm not that low. Yeah, I could come up a little bit.
Okay.
I guess the argument of like having your combat tricks after you cast your 7-unit thing, usually
it is an ask, but
usually go earlier in the game. But yeah, if you can defend this guy's swing at all, it's crazy. So yeah, I can come up to an A minus.
Do an A minus. All right.
Okay, cool. We'll do an A minus. I just really like the fact that you know exactly what you're getting to. You know what I mean? It's not random.
Yeah.
So
I like the way that the things come out buffed too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. You're right. They're 4/3s. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, so like you can attack, and if it survives, I mean, I know this is Magical Christmas Land, but you know, if it attacks and survives, you can give one of them killer and go into the red zone, or you can imbue, etc., etc.
Yeah.
All right, so that is Roland. He's gonna get an A minus from Crew EternalJourney. Finally, here for Justice, we have Macto, Valorous Savior, and of course, I drafted it and never got to play it. He is a 5/5 Valkyrie for 8 Justice. Flying or Revenge. All revenge never ends. Prevent all damage that would reduce you below 1 health. So a couple of things. It is all revenge. So this includes revenge on your opponent's turn. And then it essentially means you can't lose the game by health. So they can attack you over and over again. You'll still stay at 1 health, but they could mill you out. So take that into consideration. And then, of course, it also counts the revenge of Macto. So he essentially has revenge forever because, you know, he'll be in play, etc., etc., etc. I initially, when I drafted him, didn't put him in the deck because 8 seemed like a lot. Granted, I think it was only my second draft of the format. Saying that now, I think you could definitely adjust your deck to make Macto feasible. But man, you got to be careful with that revenge on both ends because there's some powerful revenge cards in the format that can definitely nip you in the butt if you aren't safe. But of course, you can cater your deck as well. Obviously, I think he would shine either in a Huru build or in a Argent Port build where you do have access to the more revenge as well to capitalize on that. But yeah, I think the card is playable. John?
I think I'm more interested in like Combre, like just ramping to Mocto instead of worrying about the revenge stuff. Personally, but I gave him a B plus. You know, I think he's a solid limited card. You know, large evasive threat, cheeky defensive ability. Like, you know, there'll be some times where he's in play and like opponent would otherwise be winning, and instead of worrying about blocking any of his ground units, you're just attacking with your Mocto in the air and having a good time. That seems fun. B plus.
Yeah, I think you
Also,
bring up a very good point about Combre being able to ramp him out earlier because there's going to be some decks
Yeah,
that just don't have an answer for him.
right. If you can get him out like turn 6 or something, that's a fast clock. And even if they do have an answer, do they have 2?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep. Alex?
or 3?
yeah, so I understand why they had to make this cost 8 because it's a powerful ability. But that's why I gave it a B plus, like because it's expensive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I gave it a B plus as well.
Okay, yep. B plus for Macto. I think that's great. That's exactly where you want to be with it. And yeah, the cost is really what kind of puts it away from being just a straight up A. All right, that's Justice, and I think Justice is powerful. They definitely got hooked up on their rares and legendaries. I feel like I think that we really didn't have too many. Actually, we only had 1 card. I think that we were all low on. Everything else was serviceable to great. So
I think Justice is just most solid in my mind across the board, right? I think that's what I said when we did the commons and uncommons too.
yep, I agree. Okay, going into Primal, we have From Elements. This is 1 Primal for a fast spell. Deal 3 damage to an attacking enemy. And then Transmute Praxis. So triple Praxis, triple fire, triple time. You get a 4/4 Otherworldly Visitor, which is a 6 cost 4/4. When you play a spell, your units get +1/+1 this turn. Summon. Play a Ravenous Worm with +1/+1 for each unit in your void. Yeah. John?
So yeah, to be consistent, this grade is for the unit. I gave it a B minus. Like I think its payoff is a little weak considering its casting difficulty, especially compared to the other ones we've seen so far. I think it would be best if you're also able to capitalize on the primal fast spell side of this card. Since I think I actually rate that a B instead of a B minus. Like I think this is the only one where I rated the fast spell higher than the unit. What did you think, Jedi?
Yeah, I actually like the the front side of this over the back side, to be completely honest with you. I don't know. I just I don't know. I think it's fine. Being in Praxis, you are gonna have combat tricks and stuff, and then plus buffing your whole team is relevant. That being said, though, 6/6 for 4. I mean, you do get the Ravenous Worm, so I guess that kind of evens out the stat line. But you have to have the units in your void, so it requires some setup. Yeah, I don't know. I gave it. I was low. I gave it actually a C plus. I just think there's a little too much setup that you need for this card to be good when all the other ones were just great on their own. So maybe I'm grading it outside of a vacuum, but I give this guy a C plus on for the unit. And then obviously, yeah, I think it's completely serviceable to play this in any kind of a primal deck for sure, for just the front side.
Right.
Alex?
That's what attracts me more from this card is the front side. Super efficient, 1 power. It's really easy to leave up. And like it's like the weakest of these from units, probably. So yeah, I'm with you guys on that. I like the front side better.
All right, so what do you want to give it then?
I gave it a B plus because of the front side, but I could come down. That's
okay. Then we'll go. You're good going to C, John.
Like I like we need to be consistent, right? Like
yeah, exactly.
When somebody clicks on these cards, so like, I mean, I could do, like I said B minus. I could go lower
C
for the unit. Yeah, C plus is fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I think we'll 100% keep it consistent and just go based off the transmute for sure.
And then we'll just put the B or B plus on the other side there.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, right? Because the first ones, maybe we would have graded it differently if it was the other way around. I don't know, but
right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny like that.
Yep. Next up, we have Maveloft Huntress. This is Maveloft Huntress. Is a 2/1 elf for 2 primal, killer, imbue, summon, plunder. Yeah, this card does all the great things. I like it. You need to have a unit in play, obviously, but the fact that she kind of makes up for you stunning a unit by killing theirs and potentially plunder is always good already. I don't think you're gonna play her without imbuing, but at the same time, I wouldn't fault anyone for doing it because she'll kill something relevant or like a utility unit and still plunder. I think she's a great all-around card. I actually gave her an A. She's not super busted powerful, but I think you're always happy to play her, and she's super easy to play. It's not costing anything in your deck. She's flexible. She does all the things. So yeah, I gave Huntress an A. John?
I give her a B plus. I mean, she's just really solid, but I don't, she's not just gonna like win you the game or anything. But yeah, easy 2-for-1 in most cases, and then sweet plunder gravy. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I was at B plus. It's just so much value wrapped into it. It's hard to cast 2-drop, but still that.
It's like a 4-drop, right?
Right. I mean,
at the very least, yeah.
2-drop. In the absolute pinch, you don't have another unit or something, whatever. But, yeah, it's very versatile. I gave it a B plus.
Yeah, you can play her absolutely everywhere in your curve. I think the flexibility is what really put me over the top with her. Once again, I do agree. She's not completely busted. You're not like just smashing face when you play her. But at the same time, I mean, you draw early, she gets rid of something, you plunder. And then if you're in Feln, so you can recur her, that's just even more busted. And then late game, you have a 5/5 or something sit around. She just becomes huge. She kills their biggest thing. You get to plunder away a power to draw another card. There's just a lot of value there. But yeah, I'm good. I'll go down to a B plus.
Okay.
Okay. Next, where am I? Here we go. And next up, we have Reshape. This is a slow spell for 2 primal. The artwork's pretty cool too. Revenge. Transform a unit into a random unit that costs 1 more if it's yours, or 1 less if it's the enemy's unit. And then 6 time influence. Transform all your units or all enemy units instead. Yeah, and then of course of note, if it does all the units, it still puts yours 1 higher and theirs 1 lower. John?
I gave this a B minus, and that's like just if you're playing it for primal interaction. I think if you can synergize with this card on any of the additional axes, such as Revenge matters, the transform matters, or just playing some of the Primal token generator support cards, while also consistently being able to reach that 6-time payoff threshold. Like, then it's maybe even like an A- or something. But average case B-.
Alex?
That was my grade exactly, B minus. If you can trigger the 6-time, then I think it's an A. But just as the interaction, it's B
It's
minus.
going to be pretty good usually.
Yeah.
I like it at a B minus as well. That's exactly why I gave it. We saw that with the Vernal Mandrake, right, in the previous format, where buffing your whole team by 1 can just be absolutely a huge blowout. This thing does it twice for free, essentially, because you're only paying 2. I definitely think the other thing that stops me from even remotely, even if you're able to do your whole team or their whole team, the fact that it's random, because you can get blown out and get a rare and a legendary and all that good stuff, and then other times you can get like one of those mediocre cards, right? You get the 9-cost Echo unit, or the 9-cost 3/3 that gives the top card of your deck Echo or something. You're just like wah wah. So I think it's strong. I think it's good. I like it at B minus.
Sweet.
You're gonna definitely have some highlights about it. Okay, next up, Shared Vision. This is a slow spell for 3 power, 4 primal. Revenge. Exhaust 2 of your units to give the top card of your deck Destiny. Alex?
So take a turn off and stun my whole board to give a power Destiny. That's an F.
Okay. Yeah. You're 100% right on that. What about you, John?
I don't think this is playable in draft, except like a cheaty market option, maybe. The board state would have to be something pretty specific for me to take a turn off to potentially, like Alex said, play that power card for free. Like, what? No. And like, if you do it the first time, keep in mind you also have to exhaust. You have to exhaust 2 units when it comes back the second time. Like, which if you're not already planning for, like, that could lead directly to your demise, right? Like, was that free power worth it? F.
No.
Yep.
Like cheeky ways of putting something really expensive on the top of your deck, or I don't know, whatever.
I can't even find a good way to do this in Constructed. I've been trying, and I'm gonna keep trying, but I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, exactly. You guys said it all. It's an F. Okay, Steam Sprite is a 2/2 sprite for 3 primal flying. When Steam Sprite attacks, gain a fire influence. When you have 6 fire influence at the start of your turn, deal damage to the enemy player equal to your number of units. Mr. Skycrag, John.
I gave this one a B. I think this is a very good draft card, right? Like, it's an evasive threat, surge synergies, as well as a nice payoff for hitting that 6 fire threshold. Like, if that thing sticks around, that is going to kill your opponent pretty quick, I think. What do you think, Alex?
So I do like the payoff you get from being in Praxis a lot, but it needs to stick around for a little bit, and it's so fragile. So I give it a C plus.
Yeah, I'm with Alex on this one, actually.
Okay.
It's perfectly fine in any kind of primal deck, because a 2/2 flyer for 3 is fine. It's not busted, but it's 100% fine, right? We've seen 2/1s for 3, so this is fine. If you're in Skycrag, man, this thing definitely gives you some serious inevitability for sure. You can just sit back and ping your opponent for 2, 3, 5, 8 a turn. That's going to make short work of them. So I think there's some serious upside to this. But much like what Alex said, the fact that it's just a 2/2, I mean, we have at the very least chemical rounds is a common that could take this thing out. So I think that's the only thing that prevented me from straight up making it a B, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
It's just the vulnerability. I think the upside to this is very high, very high. You can end your opponent's day super quickly, but it's just a little too vulnerable. So that's why I put it as C plus as well.
You guys are totally right. I just have, you know me. I've got those Skycrag colored glasses,
Yeah, no. Hey, I was higher on the relic weapon than you guys, so
exactly. We got to balance this out.
Yeah, we get on a C plus then.
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, and it's funny because the ceiling is through the roof, and actually the floor isn't that bad either. So I think it's a good card. You're definitely not knocked by having it in your deck. Next up, we have Learned Intimidator. Imitator. Sorry, Learned Imitator. 0/1 Rogue for 4, and then 5 Primal Influence. Summon, transform Learned Imitator into a unit of your choice with cost 5 or less from your deck and set its attack to 0. Yeah, John?
So I'm brewing a sweet constructed deck with this card, but I really don't think you want to play this in draft under any circumstance. Please, someone prove us wrong here and let us know how it went. Something about the comments below? F.
Yeah, like the only card that comes to mind off the top of my head, and I'm not looking at the rares or legendaries because now you're hoping to high roll 2 rares and 2 legendaries or whatever, or a rare and a legendary. But so if you're a Legion and you have the worm, right, the Surge Worm draw you a card, then you get
broker,
yeah, then you get
that's a good one. The worm,
you get the 0, you get a 0/8, right? Yeah, you get a 0/8 that draws you a card every time you
then
search.
You've got
but
4 time and 5 primal in your deck.
Yeah, exactly. That I just don't see it. Like, I mean, I still give it a D because maybe there's some like really good unit somewhere in there that I'm missing off the top of my head. I'm missing the special ability, right?
Right.
I mean, I guess it's good. Same thing if you have Tell It, but now you're going 2 rares, but getting that effect's quite. Yeah, I just don't know. I give it a D just because I'm sure there's gonna be something where you can really capitalize on this, but overall, obviously, yeah, if you have the Steam Sprite, then you're able to get 2 of that effect going or whatever. But yeah,
but, Steam Sprite, it helps itself by attacking. A 0 whatever can't attack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I gave it a D, but I can easily do an F. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I just didn't understand this card, why I would want to do that. Like, unless I have some really good summon triggers that I want to do, I guess. I don't know. I gave it an F.
Yeah, because it actually, it even has to be 5 cost or more or less. I'm sorry. Oh wait. Oh my God. Yeah, unit of your choice would cost 5 or less. Oh yeah, so it doesn't even do the worm, or well, it does Tell It, but it doesn't do the worm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no worm. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This card's so an F. All right, Learned Imitator. You
so
are
an F. Okay, good.
Like the worst clone I've ever seen.
Yeah. All right. Helio, the Sky Winder, is a 2/2 Shaman Serpent for 5 Primal. Flying. What?
No, I just.
It's gotta be Winder, right? Skywinder.
Oh shoot, my bad. Yeah, it's Skywinder. I told you English bad. So Helio Skywinder. What did I say? Skywinder. Yeah.
Winder.
Nice. Good job, Jedi. I'm just gonna start trolling everyone saying stuff. Helio.
I kind of liked Skywinder. I'm not gonna lie.
I kind of liked it too.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
It was a pleasant chuckle. Like, no offense meant.
Okay. Flying, summon, draw a card for every double primal or every 2 primal you have. So if you have 2 primal, you draw a card. If you have 4 primal influence, you draw 2 cards. If you et cetera, et cetera. So another modified version of the Albatross, but instead of amplify, you just get it for your influence. Where are you at here, Alex?
Yeah, so 2/2 flyer for 5. If it draws you like 1 card on summon, that's solid. Any more is like sweet primal gravy. I like it at a B+.
Okay. John?
I give it a C+. Like, if you're just playing it, that happens, in a deck that happens to be playing Primal. Like, I think it's definitely more of like a solid B if you're more heavily into blue or have symbols and ways to just kind of amp that Primal influence up. Then it just goes up with your ability to do that, I think. So yeah, B.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well. I'm good with the B. You guys covered it all. Nothing to really see here. Move along. Okay. Next up, we have Jotun Bonebreaker. Jotun Bonebreaker is a 5/5 giant for 5 primal. Overwhelm. Surge, discard a card at random, then draw a card. Ultimate, when you have discarded 10 cards, Jotun Bonebreaker gets 10/10. +10. So it becomes a 15/15. Once again, ultimate, when you have discarded 10 cards, Jotun Bonebreaker gets a +10. Of note, it has Overwhelm, and it says you have discarded. It doesn't say Jotun, so or Bonebreaker. So anything that makes you discard from your deck counts. John,
I gave this guy an A. I think this is pretty solid. Like, I think you're basically it's kind of deceptive, but I think you're really in control here of the surge effect. Like, obviously you control when it happens. So ideally you know, like, let's say you actually play this guy in curve, like you're probably down to maybe this guy and one other card at that point. And then, like, let's say that's like a removal or a fast spell. Like, I mean, that's going to be the only time where you're going to feel kind of bad just burning it, but you're ideally you just empty your hand, and that way when you top deck a power, you know, you get the surge trigger, it says discard a card. Well, you have none, and then you just draw a card. So, like, at that point it's just surge, draw a card. All right. Unfortunately, in that case, you're not building up his ultimate. But, like, I don't know, like, there's some tension there, right? Like, I guess if you just get a bunk card, then you try and build up the ultimate, because that will actually win you the game eventually. And then I think you prioritize some effects like that might discard. I don't know. I think this guy's pretty dang good. And I think that ultimate, if it pops off, that, like, 1 or 2 attacks at the most, and you just win the game, right? Like, just completely decimate the entire board.
I think the only tension in this card, I think this card is great. Baseline, it's even better than a Beastmaster, and you guys already know where I set in Beastmaster. My issue is, I think the tension between this card is the fact that you typically in this kind of scenario want to discard your power, but you need to play the power to trigger the surge. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit of tension there, but other than that, I think you're right. I like this card. I give it an A as well. I think it's everything you want it to do, and it's definitely a must-answer threat for your opponent. Alex?
I mean, I guess it gave it the highest grade that is not an A, B+. Mostly just because if you're not set up the way John said, with just drawing a card when you surge, then the random discard can be bad. So that's why I gave it a B+.
Okay. Where do you want to sit on it?
I mean,
no, John.
I could do A-, or I think it's pretty strong. Like A or A- for sure.
Yeah, I could come up to A-.
Okay, we'll do A-.
I don't see it being too hard to set up the surge draw card. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then once, like John said, it's up to you. If you like your hand, you just don't surge.
Unless, yeah, it's kind of awkward if you need more power, but yeah.
Just top out at 5. Easy.
Okay, next up, Vengeful Flight. This is a slow spell for 5 power, 3 primal. Revenge, play a copy of one of your units without flying, then give them both flying. It doesn't take much for this card to be great. I managed to play it, and I was making flying imbued bears left and right. Like, half the time,
that sounds so good.
Yeah, half the time I didn't even have to attack. The opponent was just like, "Yep, I'm done. Concede." There is a little bit of setup, just a little bit. It does have to be a unit that you want to copy, and it has to not have flying. But it gives it flying, so it already makes the unit that much better. So I like this card quite a bit, and I don't think it costs you too much. Plus, it has revenge, so they have to have 2 removal spells to kill both the copies that you made. And if not, you get a 3rd copy. And if not, of course, you just make 2 more copies of something else, or a copy of something else. Yeah, I like this card a lot. John?
Like, I've played this too. Like, it can be a little awkward. Like, it really can. Like, sometimes your only unit already flies, and then you like literally can't play this card. Like, and then if your only unit, you make a copy of it, and then you don't play another unit, or the only unit you play is another flyer, and this thing comes back and all you have are flyers again, it does nothing the second time. Like, it can be very awkward. So I think it requires a little more setup than maybe you give it credit for, just a little bit. Like,
No,
I
you're
think it's
right. You're
still
right. You're right.
very good though. B
You're right.
plus is what I gave it.
No, you're right. I misspoke. It won't make a copy of the unit that you already made because it will have flying. You're right. And then of note, with imbue targets, you will have to imbue a unit again or another
Well, that's
unit.
optional.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But just FYI, it won't copy the stats of the imbued target. It will just copy.
No.
It'll copy the original. So obviously, if you do it on the sign, it'll play a 3/3 bear, and then you can choose to imbue on another unit if you want to or not. So yeah, I can understand that. I gave it an A-, but I think you're right. It might be closer to a B+. Alex?
I was on an A- just because I was like, it creates a flying clone basically, and it's not too hard. There's not too much flying in the set where it's hard to deprioritize flying if you have this spell. So yeah, I'm at an A-.
Haha. All right, the A's have it. We're going to A- for
All
Vengeful
right.
Flight. Yep, A-. Okay. I always get this. Is it Island or Eileen?
I think it's Island, right?
Island? Okay, we'll go with Island. Fearless. This is a 6/6 Scion for 7 triple primal. Flying. Your other primal units have +1/+1. When Island attacks, draw 2 cards. Card is busted. A.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to hit the opponent to draw the cards. It's an A.
I gave it an A. This is the only A+ I've given in any of
Ooh,
our
A+.
set reviews, periods. This one's an A+. This is my favorite card we've reviewed ever.
It has John's favorite words on it, right?
Has
Yeah,
that
it's
all
like
of our
win the game while drawing cards for no reason.
Yeah, I think
Oh my god.
I think all three of us like drawing cards, but yeah, a 6/6 flyer is going to be the biggest thing in the air, and
Yeah.
it just, this card is just so good, so good. Yep, A. Nothing to talk about. If you see Island, drafter and win games, LOL. All right, Power Stone Compass, which actually I have one in my collection now because I am testing John's Skycrag deck. And I don't think that's too much of a spoiler for the tech. Anywho, Power Stone Compass. It is a legendary relic for 7 primal. When one of your spells deals damage, draw a card. Ooh. Surge. The next damaging spell you play this turn deals 1 damage. Of note, it will stack with multiple surges for this turn, but it won't carry over. So just FYI on that, because you do have to play the spell. So it's not one of those things you can sandbag, chemical round in your hand, and all of a sudden it's dealing like 8. Yep. So John, go ahead and break it down for us, since this is one of your pet cards already. How do you feel about it in limited?
In limited, this is not playable, right? Like,
yep.
It's just an F. I love this card though in constructed. Love it.
Yep, I agree with you. I don't think you have enough damaging spells in the format that are powerful enough to warrant you waiting until you play this on 7 to then do it. So I agree.
No.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, F unless you're playing John's Spellcrack deck.
Nice. There you go. Easy. All right, and our final primal card is Jotun Ice Slanger. There you go. I'll stay with the motif. So Jotun Ice Slanger is 6/6 giant for 8 primal. Has Aegis. I like that on a big unit. Summon. Deal damage to an enemy unit equal to your shadow influence, and you gain that much health. So I feel like this card has to be found, because that way you get the card back for going all the way to 8, because this one doesn't have a discount. But a 6/6 Aegis is really good, because at least you have ways of, they have to either 2-for-1 themselves or removal spells, etc. The usual, or it has to win in combat. So I don't know. I gave this card a B because of the cost, and Primal doesn't have any ramp in it, so you definitely need some modifications to make that happen. But I mean, there's some upside. There's some upside for sure. Alex, where you at on Jotun Icelinger?
Yeah, I give it a straight B. It might not, even if you're in Fel, not be enough shadow influence to kill what you really need to kill. I do like big Aegis units, but I still just gave it a B.
Alex or John?
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you guys. Yeah, if you're in Feln, definitely a B. If you're not, it's not very good. Like more like a C plus or something.
Yep. Yep, and that's Primal. So I don't think it's as strong as Justice overall, but man, I think Primal's. I don't think you're unhappy about being Primal. There was definitely some medium cards, but there's some powerful ones as well. How do you feel about it, Alex?
Um, I feel that the commons and uncommons don't really support it too much. But I'm willing to try.
Yeah, no, yeah, yes. Looking at the entire faction, I agree. I think it's definitely once again, sadly, a support color and not a primary. John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even remember the name of that. What was that time card I liked? Yeah, who's he? Like, give me Island.
The
All right,
island,
then.
right?
Yep, fair enough. All right, so with that, let's jump into our final faction in Shadow. First up for Shadow, we have for Shadow. Anyways, Abominate. This is a fast spell for 1 Shadow. Has Revenge. Swap a unit's attack and health. Yeah, too situational. I give this card an F. I don't really see the value in putting it in your deck. I don't know. Whatever. John convinced me. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. D. I don't really have
Okay.
anything much to say about it.
All right. Cool. Alex.
I mean, I gave it a D as well. It's just way too unpredictable of an effect.
It's technically interaction.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's some stuff
Fast
to do.
speed. I'm sure you can find a use for it if you put it in your deck, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah. Spells on your opponent's turn matter, etc., whatever. Yeah, super medium. Because, I mean, everything in Shadow anyways has more attack than health, which is where you want it to be, right? The Tentacleases, I mean, I guess you can argue for the Rollant's whatever, the 1/5, but that thing gets its attack anyways, so I don't know. Whatever, don't worry about it. You guys can try to brew around it, but I don't think so. Okay, From Beyond is a slow spell for 1 Shadow. Choose a unit or spell with cost 3 or less from the enemy player's hand. They discard it. Yeah, this card is that part of it is just so situational and limited. I'm not excited about it, but of course the transmute on this side is Combre, so triple time triple justice. You get a 4/5 Maeve Walker. What?
Maeve.
What? Maeve?
Just the way you said it.
I just like that.
Yeah, you just said it funny.
I like that.
Walker. I can't tell anymore if you guys are trolling me or not at this point. Maeve, Walker of Eons, is a 6-cost 4/5. The first time you play another unit and the first time you play a weapon each turn, draw a card.
What?
Yeah, that's completely amazing. Summon, put all units and weapons in your void into your deck with a +4/+4.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're Combre, like just straight up windmill slam the Maeve.
Yeah, this like all my notes say unit equals busted, spell equals whack. I mean, is there anything more to say here?
Yeah. So once again, staying in style, I think we should just grade it off the transmute, and I think it's an A. Alex?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, Maeve, you get an A. All right, next up we have At Any Cost. This is a fast spell for 3 power and 4 shadow. Decay, lifesteal, deal 3 damage. All right. But if you have, hold on, what is it? 12, 3, 6.
I think it's 12, right?
Yeah, 3, 6, 9, 12. If you have 12 shadow influence, At Any Cost deals 12 damage instead. And of course, it has decay and lifesteal. John?
I give this a B. Like, obviously you need to be able to cast it, but like I don't think it's like the worst if you can't cast it until a bit later, like in the mid game or something, because of like the lifesteal will help if you're if you're a little low by then in life total, and then like the decay means that even if they have something a little out of reach of that damage, like that'll chunk it, and maybe you even get rid of all of its attack power with that. And then whatever, if it was attacking you in the air or something and no longer can, like I think that's a pretty good, and it's a fast spell too, so you could just use it as a blowout in combat or something. Like the only thing bringing it down for me is just the foreshadow on the main cost here. And it's not inconceivable even in draft to get that 12 shadow with this set. So there's definitely some real upside there, but I give it a B.
Yeah, that foreshadow is that foreshadow is definitely a consideration for me as well. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I give it a B minus. If you trigger the ultimate, please take a screenshot.
Yes.
But yeah, this card is not remotely splashable. I do like decay at fast speed. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I gave it a B minus.
Yep, I gave it a B minus as well, but for everything that John said. So yeah, we'll go with a B minus for at any cost. All right, next up we have Ion. What's this one?
This I honestly don't know for sure.
All right, Ion, Dark Conduit.
Yeah.
Is a 1/4 cultist for 3 shadow, decay, ambush. When Ion attacks, gain a time influence. When you have 6 time influence at the start of your turn, the enemy player loses their remaining power, and you get that much this turn. Alex?
So I mean, I see this guy as mostly a really great blocker with some upside. So I give him a C plus.
I give him a B minus. Like there's a lot of synergy with ambush, and then like I'm more excited about the decay in the ambush because of like I feel like obviously the 1/4 is not going to be able to actually kill a lot of things when it ambushes, but I mean it'll do a permanent stat reduction, which is that's pretty good. And then because it's ambush, the likelihood that it can attack on the next turn is higher than just if you played it out normally on turn 3. And then just surge synergy, like I'm not too concerned about all that time, the payoff there, but I mean Xenon is not the worst place to be if you're like in that ramp deck or something, so there's some real upside there. I give him a B minus.
Yeah, see, I'm closer to Alex with the C plus. I think he's good, but I don't think he's busted. So yeah, can we talk you down to a C plus?
Easily.
Okay, C plus for Dark Conduit. Bartholo's Keepsake is next. It is a slow spell for 3 shadow. Draw a unit, weapon, or power of your choice from the top 4 cards of your deck and bottom the rest. If you have if you have 2 Justice Influence, if it costs 3 or less, play it instead. So of course the trick here is that it does not hit spells, neither fast nor slow, but hits everything else with a little bit of consideration of essentially just kind of digging it. The cool thing is that you could potentially draw it or play it rather. I don't know. It's a value card, but I'm not super excited about it, and it is restrictive, so you still have a random chance to miss. Because, I mean, you can miss within 4 cards, right? Calibrate hit 5 cards and saw power, it can sometimes miss. And this one you're paying 3 for. I don't particularly like this card too much. Where are you at, John?
I give it a C minus. Like, I'm not excited about it either. I mean, I think the chances of this missing is extremely low compared to Calibrate, since it's unit or power, and then like if you're in Argent Port, which you probably are if you're playing this, like you probably are also running some relic weapons too. So it hits either relic weapons or weapons, right? Actually, I'm not sure. I mean, right? It just says weapons, so maybe it doesn't hit relic weapons. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure.
No, I believe it does.
Right, it does, right?
Yeah, because Blade Crafter says weapon and gets you both. So yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay, but yeah, it's just not. It doesn't go up a card ever. Like if you do cheat something into play, like it's good on tempo there, but then I mean that's still not great, right? Like I don't know. Like you'd rather get in most cases I think you'd rather like filter for your busted card, right? Like your bomb, and that's probably not going to be a 3-drop. So I don't know. I don't know about that second line of text ever really being that relevant either. Yeah, C minus.
Alex?
It's like a fancy scheme.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of either, so I give it a C.
Okay, and I gave it a D, so we'll even out at a C minus.
All right.
C minus for Bartholo's keepsake. All right, next up we have the actual Tazboo, the Tempter. Tempter. I don't know if it sounded right the first time. Anyways, 5/5 Radiant for 4 power and 5 Shadow Influence. When Tazboo goes to your Void, steal the enemy Void and shuffle it into your deck. Units and weapons stolen this way gets a +2/+2. Alex?
So, yeah, it's like a 5/5 for 4 power. It's the ability's not that powerful. The note in here I put is like I cut this from a Stone Scar deck, so I fully could have put it in the deck, but took it out. It was one of my cuts. It's still a B minus though, I think.
John?
I don't know. I give him a C minus. Like this guy like doesn't. I just don't even really see the payoff really. Like I mean, there's a lot less ways to get into your void in the format, I think. Especially like I don't know. If you're that much into shadow, you're even cutting off some of your options for doing so. So I don't think that stealing is relevant. And, like it's too heavy on the influence, and he doesn't have like any abilities at all. Like no deadly, like the other Tazboo. I don't like this guy. C minus.
Okay, I guess we'll go with the C minus. Yeah, I gave him credit for being a 5/5 for 4, but the influence is definitely an issue. And like you said, the text box is borderline irrelevant. So sure, we'll even out at a C minus for Tazboo the Tempter. Twinned Spitling is our next card. This is a 1/1 Wisp for 4 Shadow. Deadly and unblockable. Summon, play a Timekeeper with attack and health equal to your time influence. So obviously this is 100% a Xenon card. The 4 cost and then the Timekeeper, it's double shadow, but wants you to be primarily time. I don't know. John?
Yeah, like if you're playing this in just shadow for some reason, I think it's like a C minus. But I think if you're actually in Xenon, I think it's like a B. Yeah, it's solid. A little more solid, a little more than just solid. Actually, I think if you're solidly in Xenon, like it's deadly unblockable is a nice combination of keywords that can do both offense and defense. And then a Timekeeper, like if you're, especially if you have ways to surge out some time influence, like this is the first format, not gonna lie, that I have actually played Timekeeper in one of my decks. I had one in my deck this week, and it was pretty good. So,
well, the awkward thing is
it's a B for me.
The problem is that since it's making you Xenon doesn't have too many ways of permanently modifying stats. So unlike if you were Argent Depths, where you could slap a bunch of weapons or pump spells on this guy to make that unblockable more relevant, because a 25 turn clock is just a little slow. So I don't know.
No, it's just like I think a 1/1 deadly unblockable is just kind of like a good utility like unit. Like I said, it can kind of go either way. Well, no, but you're not paying. You're in Xenon, so you're paying 4 for like at least 4/4 worth of stats probably like on turn 4.
Maybe a 3/3.
And like
that could get bigger.
Timekeepers grow, so it's like an investment anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, or yeah.
You just need one time to play the Timekeeper, and then at that point. It can grow. So
yeah, I gave this card a C plus. I do like the appeal of getting 2 bodies for 1 card. I'm not sure why this card is legendary though. Yeah, a C plus for me.
Okay, so even on a C plus, because I had given it a C. So, all right, we'll go to a C plus for Twinned Spiteling. Next up, we have Wretched Rats. This is a 2/3 rodent for 4 shadow. Lifesteal, Surge, +1 attack permanently. Entomb, give a unit or weapon in your hand lifesteal and plus attack equal to Wretched Rat's attack. So the biggest thing is that this thing will cause you to sandbag the unit in your hand to make sure you don't get blown out by or fail to hit the Entomb ability. That being said, a 2/3 for 4 is not great, but the lifesteal and the fact that it can get buffed up later the longer the game goes is a thing, and then obviously symbols means it gets pumped twice in a turn, if not more. I think this card is completely serviceable, like completely serviceable. I still gave it a C plus because I don't think it's backbreaking, but I mean I think the card is good. John?
I gave it the exact same grade, C plus. I had this pack one pick one in an actual draft last night. I ended up I picked Rust Machine over it, and there's also like an Innervator in the pack. I would have picked that over this as well in that case. So yeah, I give it a C plus. I still think it's solid. It's good. Like if you're in Shadow, like pack 4, yeah, this would be probably make the deck.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm happy with this 4-drop in any of my decks that play Shadow. I gave it a B plus.
You said B plus?
Yeah, I mean, I like Lifesteal a lot, and I like transferring Lifesteal to other things. But yeah, I could come down a little bit.
Can you come down to C plus?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Wretched Rats gets a C plus.
I think it's better for that, for the record. But yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah,
noted.
That's fine. We believe it, but we gotta come up with one overall grade for everyone to make it easier. So.
So.
It'd be interesting. One day we might do a poll, like, "Hey, who do you resonate more with during the set reviews?" And see how many, and then we'll have, instead of the archetypes, we'll have the Jedis, the Johnnies, and the Alex.
We have very distinct drafting personalities, like for sure.
Yeah, which is great. That's exactly how I want it to be for the show, so we get the most for our listeners instead of all of us drafting exactly the same way.
Right.
All right. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think of how someone. I feel like I've heard this name said differently, but I always call him Elias. But I feel like someone called him something else, and I don't remember what it was. I can't remember if it was LSV trolling people or if it was like another streamer. Anywho, Elias Shadow Wing is a Nightmare Valkyrie at 4/4 Nightmare Valkyrie for 5 power and 3 shadow. Flying Decay Ultimate. When you play a card with Destiny, Elias gets +4 attack and lifesteal, so being restored to his former glory. I think this card is great, absolutely phenomenal. I've got no downside for it, honestly. Alex?
Yeah, 4/4 flyers for 5 typically are pretty good. This was not too hard to play on curve. I don't know if it's an A. I think it's a B plus.
I give him an A minus.
Okay, yeah, I'll give it an A- as well, because even if you the decay really helps, and then the ultimate in this format, it once again you have Midnight Hunt, right, which just makes it to where it triggers both sides. He gets to survive combat and gets to eventually trigger his buff as well. Yeah. If
there's a lot going for him.
Yeah, if you're a Legion, you can just carry Forgets to start silencing their flyers, etc., etc. So, heaven forbid you give this guy Killer and start doing some shenanigans. So, yep, Elias, we'll go with A- then to even out. Next up, we have the guy that's already making waves in both limited and constructed, Severin of the Dark. I got this in one of my Forge decks, and then I drafted the Sao. Oh god, it was so good. 5/5 Mage for 6 Shadow. Surge. Play a 3/1 Piercing Grief with charge, lifesteal, and revenge that dies at the end of your turn. John?
I think you said he was a 5/5. He's a 5/7.
Oh, my bad. Shoot. Sorry.
Yeah, that's like a really good stat line in this format. And like, I had this in a deck with Spirit Weaver, and like, let me tell you, Lifesteal Severin is busted. And like, it's so easy to get multiple surges here. You can get like, there's ways to like that aren't that difficult to get surges on enemy turns and get. I've never seen such a thing. Piercing Grief blockers. It's so cool. I think Severin is busted in limited. I don't think he's nearly as good in constructed like the masses seem to think right now. I think he's fun, but yeah, in limited, I think he's an A for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I usually dislike the 3/1 lifesteal charge unit, but when you're getting them for free for surge triggers, I think they're amazing.
Right.
Yeah, it's an A.
Yeah, plus they could be sack fodder too, right? Shadow has some cards that make you sacrifice units for value. This is extra value because you're sacking a free unit that was going to die anyways, so yeah.
Yeah, he's both a payoff and an enabler. Like, he's just an all-around powerhouse.
Yep, and then of note, obviously, if you have any ways, like for example, the symbols or the seats or banners, whatever is in limited format, you get 2 of them in one turn. So yeah, pretty busted. Severin gets an A.
Don't play Reap.
Yep. Next up, we have the Unforgiven. This is a 5/6 nightmare for 7 Shadow. Flying, ambush, summon. The enemy player discards 5 random units from their deck. Summon effect is just upside, I guess. Sometimes it could also be bad if it takes out everything but their bomb, etc. Whatever. Either way, this card, I think that it's still worth the 7 cost because it's evasive and has the potential of taking out a unit on the way in. So it's added removal. And I think that's enough value to kind of be okay with. And 7 is still serviceable. I think 8 goes a little into the super late game, but I think 7 is doable. So yeah, I like the Unforgiven. A or B though, I'm not necessarily sure. Alex?
So I have this guy straight up A, just because it's a 5/6 flyer for 7. That it's like it'll gobble up anything, like in whether it's on the ground or in the air. And late in the game like that, it's really easy to be like, oh, I top deck nothing, and you just kind of get your opponent. It's it's real easy to get your opponent late like that. So yeah, I like this guy a lot. What do you think, John?
I love him. Yeah, easy A for me. Not only does he eat something, I think every time you play him, basically, unless your opponent is just like top decking and just has no units because you're just already winning. And then this guy just pushes so much damage in the air afterwards. It's so good. And I like playing him, turn 7 or later. Like, I think that summon is actually kind of relevant. Like, your opponent's already gone through, say, 5 of their units between their hand and their board, right? Like, so this gets rid of half of their future unit draws for the whole rest of the game if they manage to deal with your Unforgiven. Like, I do think that's a relevant summon even.
Yeah, I forgot. Plus, it kind of has that eviscerate effect as well, where if it goes to the late game and for whatever reason, if the Unforgiven can't close out the game and mill's an option or, decking's an option, then it gets you 5 cards deeper that way.
Yeah, I give him an A.
Of note, be cognizant if your opponent has fast spells because he doesn't have any keyword. He doesn't have things like deadly or quick draw or something like that. So there is a chance that you go to snap this off and they block, or you block, and then they have the Midnight Hunt or the Finest Hour. So just be cognizant of that.
These are a lot of shadow cards.
If your life total is not completely at risk, right? They're attacking with multiple units. And power open and cards in hand, yeah, you do want to value this unit's ability to attack. So I do recommend in those cases playing around a trick if possible.
Yep. The Unforgiven, you get an A. All right, and our final shadow card, it is Vara Limitless. The Scion for Shadow is a 6/6, 7 power, triple shadow, lifesteal. Your other shadow units have +1/+1, and then when Vara attacks, play a unit from your void. John?
I gave this Vara an A-. I think if she had Deadly instead of Lifesteal, I think she'd be an easy A because she would also have Lifesteal because Spirit Weaver's in the format. Like, all you have to do is attack once and she kind of replaces herself. Whether or not she really replaces herself depends on the unit quality of your void. But she does the whole buff your board thing in Shadow. A lot of times you have solid evasive units in Shadow, unblockable, and flying. So that's a good place to have some stat buffs. I think she's super solid all around. Yeah, A minus.
Yeah, I actually. Go
Go ahead,
ahead.
Jedi.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I like lifesteal on her. I mean, not that I don't like deadly, but I think lifesteal is better at stabilizing your board state. And it has some upside on, like you said, just replacing itself almost, getting something really good from your void. I gave it an A.
Yeah, I gave it an A as well. Lifesteal is good and it's fine. The cool thing about lifesteal also is that it makes it to where you don't hate the fact that she's not attacking, right? Because she blocks really well. And of considering that she's Shadow, the Anthem effect is even better because Shadow has at the very least 3 unblockable units, right? Tentacles is in the format, so making that a 6/3 unblockable is super powerful. And yeah, the attack effect is awesome because it's a known quantity. You know exactly what you're going to get back from your void when you attack with her, which makes the attack a lot easier to value, right? You're not risking the random top deck or something like that. You know, hey, I can get back exactly this card if I attack with her, and that is worth a trade or not. So yeah, I gave her an A. So we'll balance out at an A for sure. And that's Shadow. Shadow, I like it. Shadow looks consistent and strong. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it was like 4 A's in a row at the end there.
Yeah, exactly. 4 A's. I have it. Yeah. Okay, that will do it for all the single factions. Let's dive into the multi factions. Starting off with Sandblast Mage. This is a 3/2 mage for 2 power, but then triple fire and single time. Decay ultimate, pay 4 to give Sandblast Mage +2/+2 for each spell with cost 5 or more in your void plunder. Alex?
So there's like a cycle of these 2 cost units that are more like 4 or 5 drops. This one, I like this one at a. Hold on, I got lost here. Holy crap. You'll have to edit this out. Let's see here. Wait, I say a continuation of the cycle. Hold on, the Sandblast Mage. Okay, sorry. So I look at these cards as very solid 4 drops, or 5 drops, even though they cost 2. The ability is more like a later in the game type of ability. It has plunder on it. This unit, I like it at a B+.
Okay. John?
Yeah, it's like it's cool. It's like I think it's pretty good. Plunder obviously gonna be good. Like, and it does have decay. So even if you don't get the ultimate off, like it's still gonna, even if you have to chump block, it's gonna take a chunk out of something, right? Like it's pretty good. I give it a B- overall, just because it's it's not gonna win you the game or anything, but it's a very solid all around unit.
I gave it a C+, but I think you guys are right. Decay plus plunder, sure. I'll go up to B-. Is that what we're going to even out at?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
B- for Sandblast Mage. Next up, we have Angelica, Praxis Infusor. Is a 3/8 warrior for 4 double fire, quadruple time. Pay 1 and exhaust Angelica to give one of your other units plus attack and plus health this turn equal to the highest cost among spells and weapons in your void. Yeah, I'm not necessarily the biggest. I mean, it costs 1, but you do have to exhaust her, and a 3/8 is actually, I feel like, a pretty good body. As weird as that sounds, but I would actually treat her more like a 3/8 vanilla. I mean, once you get a unit, I don't know. This card is just so weird because you play 1 cost, you have like a disappear, and then now you can start giving +6/+6 to your guys, but then you're losing her as a blocker, and I don't know. It's like there's so many scenarios going through my head, but some of them making her good, some of them making her bad. I don't know, John.
Yeah, I think even worst case, I mean, as long as you're in praxis and caster like turn 6, 7, like only the biggest units in the format are able to get through this. So like those are some serious stats. So like because of that, and I think this, only being one to activate this ability, like you can fit that on any given turn as long as it's worth it, right? Like you're not just gonna leave yourself open to a bunch of damage, and you have the setup, with the it requires something, in your void, a spell or weapon, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I mean there's some setup there, but I think it's quite solid overall. Like I give it a B.
Alex?
I gave it a C plus. This unit, I'm not a big fan.
What about you, Jedi?
I ended up giving it a B minus because I think the body on it is just really relevant, and we are in a format where you do still have access to touch of battle. So giving her deadly is amazing. And then there is the upside. There are 5-cost spells that you want to run, right? There's the 5-cost, the the make a 5/4 sentinel, right? And then obviously disappear and then reality snap. So I think there's enough cards already in praxis that you kind of want to run to a lesser extent. Darkfire, yeah, and yeah, the biggest thing is the fact that her ability costs 1, and you could just start +5, +6ing your like smaller units to get into the red zone. So
Yeah, I literally had her at a B minus, and then I was like, wait a minute, pay 1? Like I had to read that again, and then I was like, I'm bumping that up a grade. So that literally did a
well,
little extra for me. But
Alex is lower with the honor, so
yeah,
we'll even out at a B minus for
that sounds good.
Angelica before. All right,
What'd you say, the praxis in pluser?
in Fusser. There you go, in Fusser.
in
Yeah,
Fusser.
it's
Okay.
Angelica Praxis Infuser, guys. I guess we'll go ahead and discuss it here because I just came up to it on the list.
Sure.
So we have a cycle that we didn't cover on this one, but this is the Silex cycle, and there's one for every dual faction. And let me go ahead and just get it on screen real quick so we can see it.
I think there's just 5. There's not one for every dual faction.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. Yes, there's 5. I apologize for the cycles in this format. The Rakano, the Skycrag, the Elysian, the Xenon, and the Argent Port. And pretty much, I will read one of them. Each of them gain the influence, 2 influence of the respected. So Rakano will give you fire and justice, but it happens after this preset, I believe. I actually haven't played these, but yeah, it will check this status first that I'm about to read, and then it will give you the influence. So depleted unless you already, I should have just read the card. Unless you already have double fire or double justice. If you have both, create and draw a treasure trove. So the way this works is if you have either or, it will be refreshed or active power. Now, if you have both of the 2 respective factions, then it will be undepleted power and also give you a treasure trove. And then after that state has been met or requirement, then you will gain the influence. I think if you're in those colors, they're great to have. And if you're not, it's still serviceable. I think they're fine fixing. I'd probably still put them probably at like a seat range as far as drafting them. Maybe a little bit higher if you're already for sure in those colors. I don't know. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I have played with these in construction a lot, and these are just so good. Like there's no better feeling in Eternal right now than seeing your hand glowing. These things glow in your hand when they're active, and then you just suddenly get a treasure trove. Oh, it feels so nice. I love these. Still, I would mostly prioritize good units and removal, right, over these in the packs. But I rated it a B minus.
Yeah, I'm out there at a B basically with the thought of if it's a weak pack, then it could be like a first pick, and if you are in those colors already when you play it and you get a treasure trove, it really feels like an A. Like it feels like you're playing a great card.
Right.
But yeah, overall I gave all of them a B.
Yeah, and I'm with John. I like the B minus, so we'll even out there.
All right.
Next up, we have Iron Thorn Lawman. This is a 3/2 gunslinger for 2 power, 1 fire, 3 justice influence. Surge, gain an additional influence of that type. Summon, plunder. John?
Yeah, I think Iron Thorn's pretty good. I give him a B minus. He's not gonna like win you the game. He's like an enabler, I think, but he does have plunder as well. But like that double surge, I think you can really make some use of that in the format, and he's mostly justice, which I don't think is too hard to pull off, from what I'm seeing. So yeah, I think he's pretty solid.
See, and
Yeah.
go
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Alex.
No, I was just gonna say in the colors that he's in, I like him a lot. Like this card would strongly pull me in the direction of Rakano. It just does everything Rakano is wanting to do this format, I think. And with the plunder just thrown in, so yeah, I gave him a B plus. I like this guy a lot.
Okay.
Man,
What do you think, Jedi?
I guess I'm just too conservative. Like I actually give him a C plus, and the reason why is that he's a 2-drop that isn't going to come down on 2, and probably not even on 3, just depending the way your power plays out, right? But the thing, like I agree with what you're saying. I think the double surge is going to be very powerful, and it definitely helps you hit those 4 influence cards quicker, and then plunder. But the problem is that none of these things are super impressive on their own, right? The double surge, he doesn't take advantage of it himself. You want something that uses that double surge, which you may or may not have. The plunder is plunder, and then when you do play him, he's still a 3/2. So him coming down later in the curve is really lackluster to me. So I think the power level is there. I think he's a strong card, but even the whole is not all that much impressive than the sum of his parts, if that makes sense, right? It's still 2 health, so it dies to a lot of things. It's a 3 attack, so it doesn't attack that great. I don't know. Is that making sense? Like I think the power level's there, but you need to almost build around it. So that's why I gave it a C plus.
Yeah, definitely. I had it at C plus, but the plunder brought it up, to B minus for me. Like I'm very close to how you're rating it. So, but it is just an enabler. Like it's a piece in the deck, and I think it's a really good, enabler. Like it's a great, imbue target. I'll say that about most cards I think we look at. I mean, late game, it's not the worst top deck because, like, if you're sandbagging like a power or 2 for surges, especially anyway, that plunder means you get a treasure. It replaces itself, in some sense. So,
all right. So
I mean, meet in the middle, right? Anyway,
I'm up
right?
to B minus.
So, B minus, I think.
yeah. So actually, our last couple of grades have all been B minus. At least we're consistent, if not anything else. I just don't understand why he's wearing a vest with all that armor on. I mean, I guess you got to be snazzy.
Some people just like to look good,
I mean, I get it. Trust me, I like vests. It's one of my favorite pieces of articles of clothing, but I don't think I'd wear it in full plate mail. Speaking of artwork, geez, look at the teeth on this guy. All right. Are you seeing it?
Yes, this guy in the background.
Jeez, trolling Marley like nobody's business. Marley, heroic marshal is, or my bad, Marley, heroic marshal is a 4/4 gunslinger for 4 power, 4 fire, and 2 justice influence. So very picky. And man, her barrel is super long too. Talk about a long barrel. Anyway, my bad, I digress. Surge, +2/+1, and overwhelm this turn. I like that. Summon, you may silence an enemy unit or kill an enemy relic. Man, I like her.
Yeah.
Man, it just see, and this is exactly what I'm talking about right here, right? So the surge makes her even better, and you're gonna get.
Can you imagine this with Iron Thorn?
Yeah. Oh my god. So yeah, she has the potential of attacking as a 6/5 overwhelm. That's so good, and you already have a chance of getting a card worth of value on her when she comes down. Yeah, I like it. I like her quite a bit. The influence requirement is no joke though. Like 4 and 2 is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but if the influence is a little less and it just it costs 6 or something, I think you'd still be like, yeah, sure, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I
Uh,
think it's fine.
yeah, I think she's quite powerful. There aren't as many relics running around in this format we've seen previously, but I think you could still pick some off. And if not, like, silence is still very strong, very
Surely.
strong. So at the very least, you are getting your value. I think she's to quote you quoting me, the the juice is worth the squeeze here. So Alex, what about you?
I I love this card. I think it's a great card, but do not underestimate the casting costs associated with these 4 and 2 cards. It's there's many games where you're either stuck on not getting 4 or even on the back end with the 2 randomly. It's a really restrictive casting cost. So that's why for me it tops out at a B.
Yeah,
Yeah, I gave it a B as well.
sweet. Yeah, that's exactly where I put it on. Man, see, that's so
Perfect.
good. That's exactly why we do the grades. Like, we were high, we were low, and then hey, we all gave it the same grade. Awesome. Yep. Marley Heroic Marshall, you get a bravo.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Krill, Clan Raider. I really wanted the original version of her to be good, and it just never played out. Let's see if this
Agreed.
one's any better. Krill, Clan Raider is a 1/1 warrior for 2 power, 2 power, 3 fire, 1 primal, +1/+1 for each of your other units. And it's not a summon ability, so it fluctuates based on your unit count, so keep that in mind. Ultimate, pay 7 to kill each enemy weapon and curse. Alex, what do you think?
It's just a little bit difficult, I guess, to evaluate. This one really needs a lot of help from some friends to be good. And then the ultimate isn't necessarily always going to be even relevant. So I gave it a C plus because I guess it could just become huge, but I'm not a huge fan.
Yep. What about you, John?
Yeah, I actually gave her a B because I think she slots right into that mostly fire deck. You go wide with, like, you make rustlings, you do rally effects and things. Like, I think she's going to be really good, and I don't think that deck is too hard to put together if you go that way. And then that ultimate is just a nice option to have, but I know the fluctuating can be a little sketchy. But I mean, she is like just a. I mean, you'd think maybe you consider like her 4 drop, and you have a couple units on board. She should be reasonably statted at least, and then has the potential to get larger over time. I mean, she's in the colors of, like I said, rustlings, and then I'm really liking mobilization in the format too, as a token maker. So I thought she's relatively solid. I gave her a B.
See, I'm with Alex here on a C plus.
Okay.
I think the ultimate, though relevant, it's kind of irrelevant because it's 7. So your opponent's gonna see it coming, and they can plan accordingly. And once again,
True.
it does kill each curse as well. So if they have permafrost on you and stuff like that, it will get rid of it. But once again, that's fine. We're not worried about it. But so I agree what you're saying, right? And
I think you guys are right.
I think the fact that it fluctuates can be a bonus, but the problem is that there's no, with these influence requirements, I don't see you running Humbug Nest, which, as far as I'm aware, I think it's the only way to make, I mean, other than the big, the make the big sentinel, make units at fast speed. So it's actually scarier for you to attack with her, because all what they have to do is have one pillage or something to kill a unit, and then your blocks are thrown off or your attacks thrown off. And I think that's a little scary. And then obviously we've already talked about silence plenty of times. Then she gets silenced and she's a 1/1. I at least give her that, the fact that she won't die to a silence. But the upside is there for sure, but I think she's a little too volatile for my taste. And
I'm with you.
yeah, all right, cool. And we'll go with the C plus then.
Yep.
C plus for Krill. I do like the fact that these cards have play to them. You know what I mean? I don't feel like they're straight Fs or anything like that, so I do like that. And I like the fact that they're exploring that design space.
These make you really want to go into into these factions. These are fun and relatively powerful.
Yep. Next up, we have Kenna, Uncontained. She is a dragon shaman with 4/5 stats for 4 power, 2 fire, 4 primal influence. Flying, killer, I like that already. Ultimate, when you have hit the enemy player with units 5 times, draw a spell from your void. Of note, it doesn't have to be Kenna, it could be any unit 5 times. The one thing is, I'm pretty sure she has to see them attack, so she has to be in play. It doesn't count any retroactive or proactive attacks, so that's the only thing. And they do have to hit the enemy player, not sites, because there is a site in the format, as well as, you know, the killer off of her. You know, granted, unless you have overwhelm. Alex?
So I know this casting cost is the same as the other one I was just railing on, but this one has an A- for me. It's just freaking really cool card. Flying and killer. The artwork's really cool. It's a dragon shaman. And yeah, it's probably a little bit high, but A- for me. I love this card.
John?
Yeah, I also gave her exactly an A-. Just basically just for the casting costs. Because I also love this card. I think she basically is a 2-for-1 with potential, relatively easy potential for 3-for-1 even.
Yeah, you don't usually get such a big flyer left behind on a killer attack. You know,
right? Just at the baseline, you know, like.
Yep.
Yeah.
What does it for Kenna is the fact that the killer kind of gives her charge, so you can understand her being a little higher on the curve, and the fact that she's a big flyer makes the bot. Whilst, you know, a 4-cost 4/5 flyer, you can really tell that the influence takes a toll on it, because I mean, there's no way they would give us that even at legendary. That's pretty busted. And so yeah, that's what really sets it apart. Once again, where this card, the by itself, is amazing, and I think that's what makes the difference. So yeah, I'm with you guys. A-.
Sweet.
Kenna Uncontained can soar high. Next up, we have Syl. It's Syl, right?
I think so.
It's Syl Cabal Strongarm. Strongarm. Yeah, I can't do it. It's Strongarm. I can't think of anything witty. The other ones were a little more natural. Okay. She's a 5/1 rogue for 2 power, 1 fire, triple shadow, decay. When one of your units with 5 attack or more dies, play a 1/1 vampire bat with flying and lifesteal. Of note, she does count herself. It does say when one of your units with 5 or more dies, so anything 5 plus. This includes something that dies that was pumped mid-combat by something like Rampage, etc., etc. And then, of course, it doesn't say 1 or more, so if 2 of your things die in combat, you will get 2 bats. John?
Yeah, she's solid. Again, the casting cost is the only thing bringing this down at all for me. I rated her a B. Like, worst case scenario, well, not the worst case scenario, but like a low case, is just attacking into like a 3/3 or something, and she's still just cost you two power to do that, and then replaces herself with a vampire bat. Like, that's a very good low case. And then, like, the 5+ power deck is definitely a thing, and it is in exactly these colors. Both stone, it's both fire and shadow, so very, very solid. The 1 health brings it down just slightly, I think. It's not like a B+ or anything, but just a B for me. What do you think, Alex?
So for me, I gave it a B+ because it's with the 2 cards that boost for having 5 power, and
Yeah.
leaving behind a 1/1 lifesteal flying. That's just so powerful. Like, even that little unit can swing a game, because there's not that much flying. So I gave it a B+.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave it a B-, but it's pretty much everything you guys said. I just gave it a slightly lower grade. The 2 cost is great because, yeah, it doesn't take up your turn, right? If this was a 5 cost 5/1, you'd have some issues, but you can sneak it somewhere in the curve and then get some value, right? You could play it and then swing with your bigger guys. Yeah, I think you guys are great. I gave it a B-, so I think that puts us at B-, B, and B+, so B average?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So, yeah, sweet. All right, Syl gets a B from Team EternalJourney. Next up, we have Bhutan, Death's Reach.
I think that was probably actually correct.
Yeah.
Seems like a Creole thing, or
Yeah,
right?
I think so too. I mean, we could
But
go
I also like
button,
Button.
huh?
Yeah,
But
if he's from the Dirty South. Button,
curious case of Bhutan.
Bouton.
New York City.
We digress. It's late in this podcast.
It is.
Indeed.
Zoltan Temple. It is he is a 5/2 nightmare gunslinger for 4 power, 4 fire, 2 shadow. Charge, imbue. When you imbue Botan with a unit, kill an enemy unit with less attack than the stunned unit. Yeah, this card's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like charge on a big guy. You get to cash in one of your guys, remove one of theirs. They have to all of a sudden block this big dude out of nowhere. Yeah, this card is just good. I mean, and even with the influence requirement, it's probably coming down at a point in the curve where you want it to, and the charge once again kind of makes it where it's coming down a turn earlier. I mean, it's a little vulnerable, but I mean, you just anytime your opponent taps out, you just punish them with this guy. I don't know. John?
Yeah, I think he's quite solid for all those reasons. I'd compare him very closely to Kenna and give him the same grade, an A-.
I gave it an F because they changed the voice of another iconic Eternal character when Bhutan came out. So yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I'm also a
Bootlicker.
Bootlicker.
Dude, it's so much eviler now. He's like bootlicker.
Bootlicker. I'm like, whoa, he's creepy now.
Yeah, for real.
But I feel like these guys are from the same part of town, though, don't you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? I think that's related too.
But yeah, in all
An
seriousness,
F?
though, A minus.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that was a joke grade.
Nice.
A minus. Yeah, I compare it also to what's her name, like you said, Kenna as well.
Yep. Yeah, Botan is a winner for sure if you get him. And then it's of note as well. This card falls right into what Skycrag Stone Scar wants to be doing in this format, which is just getting on the board and getting aggressive. And this guy just facilitates that. So
that's really a lot of these, really all of them. The multicolor cards are really. This is what this pair is doing.
Right.
Yeah.
The signposts.
Yep.
You like to see it.
There's so many signposts though. It's like
Okay, moving along, we have Genetrix, Irel, Wayward. That's Wayward, Giantix. All right, whatever. Anywho, 3/4 cleric for 2 power, triple time, 1 justice. Influence. Players can't discard cards. Surge. The next time you play, the next unit you play this turn gets a +1/+1. I think this card's fine. It's not like absolutely busted or anything like that. You don't necessarily see a lot of discard. One thing is you could still play cards that make someone discard. They just won't discard, if that makes sense. Like for example, if you sabotage the opponent or what's hold up. If you play hold up somehow on your opponent, you could still play it. They just won't have to discard cards. So
it hoses those new uncommon powers in the set randomly. That might come up in your limited game.
Yeah, true. Fair enough. Yeah, I think it's fine. You know, with the symbols and stuff, or with the evangels, you can give something a +2/+2. Obviously, with the evangels, you can't really time it all that well, but overall, I think it's fine. The body's good, 3/4 for 2. You don't hate that. I think it's a middle of the run, but it's efficient. You're like no one's gonna knock you for playing it, but I also don't think you feel like you got there when you play her. John?
I think she's I don't know what your grade is, but I think she's a little more solid maybe than that. I don't know. I don't think she's busted or anything either, but I don't know. Like just not too hard to cast, I think. If you consider a 4-drop, I think the stats are still reasonable, and that surge I think that has some real potential to do some work easily.
Yeah, it's like a modified Horn of Plenty.
Yeah, except it's like I think even better because there's so much support for this in the format. I gave her a B. What do you think, Alex?
what you're wanting to do in these colors, Combre. I gave it a B plus. It's a powerful even on turn 4 because you can like double play it with another unit, or turn 5 with if you have a surge. Green is really surge happy, so yeah, B plus.
Yep, I give her a B, so we'll go with B.
B, perfect.
For
I thought you sounded lower a little bit.
Yeah.
I
All
got the
right.
same vibe.
well, I mean, it's a really good card, but it's not a windmill slam. You know what I mean?
No.
Like you're
Yeah,
not
no,
like, oh
totally.
yeah, guys, we got there. What's up?
You're
You
not
know?
there. But it does like pull you in
It can
that
definitely
direction.
pop off though.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
without a doubt. I mean, the sooner you play her, the better. Later in the game, it's a little sketchy. But of course, if you have in your deck, you can send back some power, etc., etc. The usual.
But, like even later in the game, it's still a 3/4 body, so it's not horrible.
Having her would make me want to play that Brightling, that 1/3 flyer with decay.
Yep. Okay. Next up, we have Diana, Faith's, or my bad, Diana, Faith's shield. I'm sure people listening at this point are like, Jedi, please stop.
Right.
She is a 2/4 mage for 4 power, 2 time, 4 justice influence. Flying, summon, draw a card. You gain 2 health and 2 armor. Ultimate, pay 12, whatever, to give Diana plus health and plus attack equal to your total influence. So if you have 5 power, well, you need to have 12 power. But if you have, for example, 7 justice and 7 time, she will get a plus 14. But yeah, your game's got to be doing something very wrong if you somehow make it to 12 power. Other than that,
I don't think that's true at all, honestly.
Not really. Not.
oh yeah, you're right, because time has all that ramp. Okay, never
that
mind.
battery mage
Yeah,
gets
you're right. You're
crazy
right.
so fast.
Nope, you're right. I totally stand. I apologize. Yeah, A.
Yeah,
I said B plus.
Yeah, me too.
See, and I
Like she's not busted, but she is so solid.
She's a great ramp payoff.
Like
see,
yeah, that if you build her on that ultimate, you can definitely get there.
See, and I feel like in this format, she's actually even better than that because you have ways of supplementing her attack, and she's evasive, and she gets you the card right back.
Yeah.
She has a little bit of synergy with weapons that are in this format, but okay, I can go to B. Would you guys say
If
B?
she had lifesteal too, like a lot of cards like this do, then I might give her like an A minus. But yeah, I said B plus.
I said B plus as well.
Well, and the funny thing is, you guys are right though. If you have one of those ramp cards in your deck, it comes to a point where the opponent just doesn't care, right? It's like, oh, we're already at 8 power. It doesn't matter. They can play everything. So you keep going up to 12, 13, 14, and they're like, yeah, whatever. And then you play her, it's like, oh, crap.
Yes, that is exactly right.
Okay, fine. So what did you guys say?
B plus.
B plus? All right, that's fine. That works for me. I can go with a B plus on her. Oh, gosh. Keep having to, like, type things twice because I forget to tab over. Because for YouTube, I'm showing it on the in-game. Anywho, I digress. Okay, next up we have Wump and Mizo. And that's one yoked Yeti. Jeez, and I like the mohawk. Anywho.
Yeah, he's styling.
For sure. 2/2 Yeti Dinosaur for 2 power, 1 time, triple primal. Your Yeti are invulnerable to snowballs. At the start of each player's turn, they play a snowball. Then, if there are 4 or more in voids, transform Wump and Mizo into a 6/6 party pair. And let me see. It is
This card's fun.
Party pair. And now that's a pissed off Wump. 6/6 for 2. And it reads
in the art. It's cool.
Yeah. Endurance. Your Yeti are invulnerable to snowballs at the start of your turn, and when you attack with 1 or more units, play a snowball. So you can start pinging things twice a turn, including your opponent. Where are you at on this, Alex?
I want it to be good so bad. This is such a flavor win. I think it might actually be good. I gave it a B plus.
Okay. Why? Like, can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's the snowball. The snowballs just happen, right? So they're gonna go to the void, and that's just 2 turns, right? Because you're each gonna do one,
mm-hmm.
And then you get that big flyer. That's ridiculous. So Yeah, I don't. It's
It's
not.
not a flyer. It's a 6/6 endurance.
Oh, it's just a 6/6 endurance. Okay, well, still,
Yes.
that's still good.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
and
B,
and
B plus.
and it's a 6 endurance that's difficult to chump block because you're gonna be able to do 2 damage to something every turn.
Yeah,
So you said B plus,
yeah.
John. What about you?
This card's busted. I said it's an A minus.
I feel like the timing of it is what makes it a little rough. The inevitability is there, but giving your opponent 3 turns to find an answer is a little slow for me. So I have a hard time giving it an A. Plus, a 6/6 endurance is very powerful, but in this format with decay and disappear and just, bigger units, I think it's not a complete game changer.
I mean,
So
you don't have to ever do it. All you have to do is put this on the board and it'll win you the game after. I didn't do the math, but it's not that many turns. Like, you don't have to do, all you have to do is protect it.
it's a 2/2 for 3 turns as well. So I mean,
It's
don't
not
get me.
impossible to protect. One combat trick
Yeah,
or like
don't
counterspell or something.
don't get me
or-
wrong. Well, I mean, not if you're going up against fire and they chemical rounds you.
I mean, counterspell. Combat trick won't work against chemical rounds. One of the top commons in the format.
It's strong. That card does a lot, like the Swiss Army knife of damage. Yeah, I'm good with. I'll go to a B plus with it. I don't quite think it's A because
All right.
if you're behind and you play this, it's just too slow, right? And
You're not wrong. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So we'll
I'm
go.
I'm down. I mean, you guys both said B plus. That's fine.
Yeah, so we'll go to B plus because yeah, I mean I want my A's to like change the game around when I play them. So, all right, next up we have Danica. Probably Donica. Donica Ruined Witch is a 3/4 mage for 4 power, 4 time, and 2 primal. Overwhelm, imbue. When you imbue a unit, draw a card. Mr. Imbue, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Danica's pretty solid. Replaces herself. If you have anything on any other unit on the board, right, that lets you imbue any other non-endurance or non-stunned unit, star or whatever. And I think overwhelm is exactly the kind of keyword you want on a nice imbue unit. And this one adds some real stats, +3, +4. And then if you have further imbue in your deck, every time you imbue a unit, you draw a card. Like, that is a sweet ability to just have. In addition to what all else it's got going on there, I like her quite a bit. I think she's a B plus.
Yep. I like her as well for all those exact reasons. Alex?
Yeah, John said everything I had in my notes. I gave it a little bit higher of a grade, A minus. I don't. Maybe that's a little too high, but I really like that card.
Yeah, I think it is because you still want to imbue, like you still need something to imbue her with, so she doesn't just come down and change. Yeah, I like B plus better.
Yeah,
Sweet.
no, that's a good point. Yeah, you do need another unit for sure.
Right. Yeah, so let's go with B plus then. Sweet. I like how like the higher rarities were only off by a plus or minus just about. You know what I mean? So, all right. Next up, we have Hasty Builder. This is a 2/3 soldier for 2 power, 3 time, 1 shadow influence. Your ultimate abilities are fast. Ultimate, pay 2 to shuffle a void of your choice into its owner's deck. So, 2/3 is just fine.
This card's whack.
Yeah, I feel like it is.
I mean, the only ultimates I'm doing in draft are already fast because of their like nature. It's the Blur Haze Worm.
Yeah.
Like that's how you activate is doing something.
Yeah.
On the opponent's turn. Like, what? I don't get this in draft.
Like, why doesn't it have ambush? It seems like it should have ambush for the Xenon theme.
Right. Then
Yeah.
it'd be kind of playable.
C minus, I think.
I'd said F.
Wow.
I don't want this in my deck ever. I don't get it.
I mean, the shuffle, I don't think it's an F. And the reason being is a 2/3 for 2, it's not coming down on turn 2. We'll say that. The influence is too much. But a 2/3 for 2 is not horrible. Like, it's serviceable. Your ultimates are fast is kind of whack for sure. But its own ultimate, I can actually see that being
Okay.
I could see that being relevant if you have a bomb, right?
I just thought of something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah, if you have a really good card, right? Part of the things that make you feel better about it is when you can recur it, and it's just not dead to one removal spell. And this is a good way to do that, right? Especially if you wait a little bit, your opponent's milled or killed some of your cards, etc. Some of your removal has gone to the void, and then all of a sudden you could just ship that all back.
Yeah. Just don't like play a bunch of dorks that you know, like you don't want to be stuffing bad cards back in your deck is like the huge downside to that. But I did think of a huge upside too. Like if you've been just playing a bunch of revenge, right? And you have some, Destiny cards already in your void, those are so good to draw from your deck, like at any point in the game, because it's just a free effect.
Yep.
So yeah, there is some you're not wrong. There is some application in draft actually.
So
but
I'm good with
my F. My F was a little hasty here.
C minus.
All right.
All right, C minus.
I'm down for that. Yeah, that's fine.
C minus for hasty builder. Okay, let's see. That's it for that one. Next page, we have Katra, the First Seal. She is a 5/3 cultist for 4 power, 2-time, 4 shadow. Spells can't leave the enemy void, so it shuts down Revenge. That's pretty nice. Surge, +1/+1. And you gain 1 health. So I'm assuming she gets her own +1/+1 permanently, and you gain a health. And then summon, play a power card from your void depleted for each of your units. So she can come down and gain you a ton of life and just be huge if it's later in the game. The one thing is play a power depleted from your void, so you kind of have to play her with vows, I think is the only way to get. Trying to think if there's another way to get power in your void.
Not easily. I mean, if you not in these factions, like there's forbidden research, but that's primal, so
yeah.
Not really.
Okay, so where do you put her? I mean, so baseline 5/3, and Surge will still trigger. It just, the summon effect is kind of irrelevant, but the spells can't leave the enemy void is still relevant, and the Surge is relevant. The only one that's kind of iffy is the summon. So where are you at on it, John?
I think it's still pretty solid. I gave her a B+.
Okay.
I think she's definitely playable. It's just she's going to be out there for a whole turn, because you don't usually get to Surge on the turn that you accumulate that power. It's like you're going to play your power to be able to play her, unless you're going to sandbag another power for a following turn to get at least 1 Surge trigger on her.
I think maybe if you've managed to get that power in your void somehow, then maybe you just run her out there.
Then you don't need to worry if you have a couple power in your void. But yeah, because of that, she's a little finicky. I gave her a B-.
Okay, I get that.
Yep, I'm on B- as well.
All right.
So
I think you guys might be right there. So yeah, I'm down for that grade.
Yeah, the 5/3 stat is like, I'm going off of the battery mage or whatnot, and it seems a little not a little volatile in this format, right? There's a lot of 3 attack running around, so it's a little awkward. But I mean, once you activate her, she's gonna be pretty powerful, and I like the fact that she just straight up completely shuts down 2 to 3 different decks kind of main game plan.
That is a nice little side buff that she has, yes.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just can't get mad at. You're like, okay, I lost to a rare that just completely hoses me. Okay.
So, of course, you get paired against that deck Jedi, probably.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I went up against 2 different Bartholos today, so... And a Tellet. All right, here we go. Ania Master Sleuth. 3/2 Gunslinger for 2 power, 3 Justice, 1 Primal. And I think it's so cool that it has Aegis in descending order on all 4 lines. So, Aegis. You can't lose Aegis, while Ania has an Aegis. Summon, you gain an Aegis.
Man, I'm never going to unsee that now. That looks really cool, actually.
Yeah, it really does. Like, I don't know if they planned it or not.
Aegis.
They really should have like increased the font like a little bit, each time, just to I mean, might as well. There's nothing wrong with having sense of humor, right? Especially when you see the grill on that guy behind Marley or whatever. Anywho, uh, yeah, Aegis in limited isn't that big of a deal.
It's good if you have weapons, but
Yeah.
yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Serviceable. I won't knock anyone for having her in your deck. I mean, it's got some
Yeah.
insurance, right? You can't be burned by pillage or by flash fire, so there is some application.
And I really like Aegis units as imbue targets in the format, but I mean we have that what's that blade whirler or the chain whirlers? I can't remember the name, the
Bludgeoner?
justice guy with Aegis. Bludgeoner, thank you. I mean that's at common, and I think that's like this it's probably better than this in most cases because
Oh yeah, easier to
it's
cast.
not hard to make it a 4/4 when it attacks, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I gave Anaya a C- myself.
I just gave her a C. Like, I imagine her stats, like, saying you play her on turn 4. And, whatever. Double Aegis. It's okay. It's just straight C for her.
Yep, I'm good with that. We can go with the C.
All right.
Yep. Ania Master Sleuth, you get a C. All right, so this card is extremely interesting. Roshi the Entrancer. Entrancer.
Entrancer.
He just got here.
He makes an entrance. I mean, honestly, that mustache looks like he's ridden hard and put away wet. Anywho, 1/1 mage for 4 power, 2 justice, 4 primal, imbue, summon, imbue Roshi with an enemy unit as well, which means not only are you getting those stats, but you're stunning their unit. So you gotta like that. John.
I like Roshi a good bit. I think he's solid. I gave him a B. There's some unfortunate counterplay there, when you're relying on that enemy unit to stay stunned, because they might be able to mess that up in various ways without too much effort, which then if you're attacking and they can do it like at fast speed, that can really mess you up. So like I think it has the same risk as a normal imbue because it has one of your units involved, but I think it adds additional risk when you're imbuing an enemy unit, is what I'm trying to say. But I think the upside is there as well. So, it's a risk / reward type of card. But I like it still. I think it's a B. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. At least hopefully for one turn you can get something out of the way, get an attack in with something, and get some value out of the stun, even if they can mess with that later.
Mm-hmm.
These casting costs are crazy. We've talked about it, so that's why it's B for me as well.
Right.
God, you guys are getting so good. You're making this job easier. I mean, you're 100% not playing this. I mean, not 100%, probably 90% not playing this unless they have a unit that you could stun, and get your values worth. I feel like this also makes it easier for you to imbue other units because this is going to give their priority. And then they have a bomb that you could just take out of the game, especially in the late game. If you guys are top decking, Roshi's just going to win you the game, I feel like. But
yeah, it's a really good
yes.
You know what I mean? And the thing is,
that's a good point.
And the thing is that since you're imbuing on 2 units, you can use one of your smaller units and then take their biggest unit or take their most viable threat, like maybe their deadly flyer or something, and then imbue your big unit. So it just, man, yeah, there's a lot of good things going on with this guy for sure. So B even, because I actually gave it a B plus, but I'm good with an even B, right? Because it was B minus and B.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, we'll go with an even B for Roshi. All right, going into my Bane for today.
Bartolio,
the beguiling. No, I can't. You googly.
You're still doing it, Jedi. Oh my gosh.
I know. Anyways, 3/3 Gunslinger Rouge for 2 power, 1 justice, 3 shadow. Huh?
2 for 1.
Yeah. So 2 power, 1 justice, 3 shadow. When you steal 1 or more cards, Bartholo gets a +1/+1 permanently. Once per turn, you may pay 5 to steal a card of the enemy player's choice from their hand. You take 5 damage. All right, well, Alex?
Someone help me with this one. Someone go first.
I want to hear what Jedi has to say, because he said this was your bane today?
Yeah, I mean, granted, I won both those games, but
Okay.
So the opponents were very smart about when they played it, and they played it the turn that they could activate it, and so I didn't see it coming. And both times they waited till I had one card in hand, and one of those times they identified that I had a fast spell, so they took my Unbreakable Tradition. So I think that makes him, and it's a 3/3 for 2, right? And granted, you want to be heavier into shadow, but not really, because of the fact that this guy's kind of closer to like a 5 or 6 drop. So I think you can time it, much like you can time certain discard spells and things, to where, once again, he's not a windmill slam, but man, you could really hose your opponent. Or for example, if you're going up against time and they're missing their third time source, but they have X amount of power, so you either know they have a fastball or they're just sandbagging a card, there's a chance that it's the worm or it's a disappear or a snap, and you could just steal it, right? So I think you are rolling the dice, right? If you just play this thing on turn 4 and then turn 5 you fire it off and your opponent has 4 cards in hand, that's not going to work out too well for you. And of course, you are taking 5 damage per turn, so really you're probably only going to do this twice a game, maybe, unless you're kind of some kind of lifesteal deck, which can happen. Argent Port does have access to Greenstone, which could potentially gain you a lot of life. So I think this card is good, and at the very floor of it, you still have a 3/3 for 2. I think it's fine. Yeah, I like this card. So I gave it a B-.
All right. So I had an opponent play this, and I was just playing a pretty aggressive deck, so I had basically emptied my hand, and like my opponent was pretty low, and they couldn't help but activate this anyway. It deals 5 damage, and I literally just baited them with a Fire Sigil, and so they like got my Fire Sigil and took 5 damage, and I thought it was hilarious. I don't think he's very good. I mean, I think he's fine, and I think you can make it to where you can have some opportunities to use this for some card advantage. But the fact that it's random cards and stuff, and like once it's out there, your opponent can play around it so easily. Like he's basically worthless at that point. And like in my mind, the 4 pips on these 2 drops, like these are 4 drops for me, basically. I don't know. I think he's a C+.
Yeah, you already talked me down. I just got high rolled back-to-back games. That makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah, I could understand that. Alex, what about you?
I mean, you could definitely do the things you said and time it and get your opponent their best card they were waiting to play. But it's kind of hard to set all that up. So I was closer with John. I was with straight C.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the what is it? Gosh darn it, False Demise, right? So they play that, they draw the biggest unit they have, it goes in their hand for a turn because they can't play it the same turn, you can hit them. But you're right, I think I just got high rolled. All right, I'll go with what'd you go with, Alex?
C.
A D?
C.
No,
C.
C plus is in the middle, if you want to go with
got
that.
you. Yeah, we'll do C. We'll do C plus. I think D is a little bit better than just a standard unit, but okay. And a card that everyone knows thanks to it being the pre-order bundle / promo card / face of the set. This is Roland Iron Tyrant. This is a 2/5 Nightmare for 4 power, 4 justice, 2 shadow. Decay Endurance. When an enemy unit dies, play a 1/1 Silverblade Reaper with flying and deadly. Then Roland gets a +1/+1. I think this card is great. You 100% have to be in Argent Port because of those influence requirements, but I mean, that means you have access to some of the best combat tricks as well as some of the best removal in the format, and you're essentially getting another removal spell for your removal spell in the form of that Silverblade Reaper. They are slightly volatile, but I've seen them last a decent amount of time in limited, and then plus while you're doing that, Roland's getting bigger. He has decay, so he blocks really good. I don't know. I feel like this card does it all, honestly. It makes, and it's anytime an enemy unit dies. So if they're the Argent Port deck and they're sacrificing things, that triggers it. If you're attacking with a imbued unit or just a 4/4 and they chump block or they trade, that triggers it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's so many ways for this guy to be good, and the influence requirement is a bit picky. Though I will admit, once again, we've talked about it before on this show, or even this episode, is just the fact that Justice can really ramp out some serious influence. So I think it can actually come down a little bit closer to curve than you would think. And even if you don't, playing this guy and then playing a removal spell is perfectly fine as well. I feel like it also makes your opponent have to rethink some blocks when you play it and then attack with open power. So I don't know. I really like this guy. I'm still back and forth between it being a B+ and A- for me, because you do need a little bit of work, right? Because but do you? I don't know. You guys make the
Yeah, no, I think you do. I think it does require a little work. Like you need to have either some removal or some buffs. Like, he's not like fantastic on his own, but he is like pretty dang good. Like that decay on that stat line, that's nice. I give him a B+ personally.
I just like everything about him, and the fact that if it said 7 on it, I think that's an acceptable 7 drop that I'd want to play in my deck. But the fact that you can hold a removal spell and then play this later in the game, because it does only cost 4. So I like that a lot. I give him an A-, but I'm down to come down to a B+. But I do like him a lot.
The Jedi was wavering. You got to be the tiebreaker, I guess.
No,
yeah, I don't know. Once a unit dies, you like get the.
All right, let's go A-. Let's go A- with it.
Okay.
We'll go A-, because I really like it, and Alex is up there. You're not too far behind us, so we'll go with A-, and we'll find out how
No, I'm right there.
We'll find out how it plays out. But man, it also has that thing where it changes. Like I said, your opponent's gonna think twice. Sometimes they're just gonna let damage go through because they're like, well, I don't want something to trade, and eventually.
And he has endurance, so that's actually pretty good.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have Fortune Teller. This is a 3/4 shaman for 2 power, 3 primal, 1 shadow influence. Your cards revenge into the top 5 cards of your deck instead of the top 10. Summon plunder. Alex?
So if you have a lot of revenge synergies, that's pretty powerful, that first line of text, and I like it a lot. The unit by itself, if it didn't have that, it's still pretty strong. Say it was a 4-drop, 3/4 that let you plunder. I like it at a B+.
Same grade I gave it for the same reasons, and I really like revenge, and Feln I think has the most revenge support by far. It seems like it'd be really fun to build around.
So I agree with you guys. One question though: if you are the Feln revenge deck, is she an A?
Probably in the deck.
Maybe, probably.
If you have enough revenge cards.
But I think the B+ is just if you have just an average level of support for revenge or whatever. Just the stats with the plunder is already solid.
Because it's still random, right? It's a little less random, but it's still in the top 5. So it could be the next card or it could be 5 cards down. So it's still a little harder to predict when it's going to be the most optimal for sure.
I think cutting that down to the next 5 makes revenge so much more exciting in my mind.
100% though. Yeah, that's super effective, especially if you start triggering multiple revenges, because then they're just back to back and you're drawing cards, and it's just Fortune Teller can definitely get out of hand. So B+ for Fortune Teller. Next up, we have Rindra Infiltrator. Is a 2/3 elf unseen for 4 power, 2 primal, 4 shadow influence, +4/+4 and lifesteal if you have played a spell this turn. This does count fast speed spells as well. It will trigger as soon as you play the spell. Summon, the enemy player discards a card of their choice from their hand. Okay, so you're automatically gonna get a 2-for-1 off of Rindra because they're gonna discard a card. they don't see it coming, so there is a chance they don't have a random sigil in their hand. The making any card a combat trick is pretty powerful, especially if you also have a combat trick, because then you can use that combat trick on a different unit and pump this guy. So yeah, I'm high on this card. I gave it a B plus though, because of the fact that still just a 2/3 with a very expensive influence cost. So it does need a little help, but not much. Not much.
Yeah,
Alex?
the help is pretty non-specific. It's like any spell.
Yeah. That's pretty nice. Like honestly, you could literally Wisdom of the Elders on, whenever this is attacking or blocking, and all of a sudden it's a 6/7 lifesteal, which is pretty awesome.
That's nice.
So yeah, I don't know. I like B plus. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, B plus. The one turn that it's sitting out there before you maybe have your combat trick, or I hate the idea of using the combat trick to
Well,
save.
I mean, again, it's only 4 power, right? The same kind of thing we were saying about that last one, where it's not that hard to there's some very playable 1-drop spells, like some levitates and things like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? Levitate was the spell that comes to mind for sure.
Yeah.
B plus still. I like it a lot.
I give him a B plus as well, so I think we're all
Sweet.
exactly
Awesome.
on the same page.
Awesome. Yeah, it's pretty funny because a lot of these cards, I think if their influence requirements wasn't as harsh, they would probably be A's, but
Oh yeah.
Great, all of them would. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It definitely tweaked it for sure, 100%, because it's not like you could just windmill slam it in any deck or play it every time you want to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we are into our neutral cards. So that was it for our colors. We're at the home stretch. Thank you so much for bearing with us on these. Wandering Beholder is a 1/1 cultist for 1 power, period. Decay. Then, all right, if you have 1 of every influence, I don't think we have a word for it, right? There's no acronym or word for all 5
If you're
colors.
influenced out of your mind.
Yeah. Well, no. First off, if you have if you have 1 influence of all 5, then Wandering Beholder gets a +2/+2 and Overwhelm. So a 3/3 Overwhelm for 1. If you have 3 influence of each faction, so 15 total, and you are influenced out of your mind, then Cultist also gains Aegis, double damage, and lifesteal. I think it's a little whack that it doesn't get 5 abilities for that second one, but I guess you get Decay but I guess it does, because you get Decay and Overwhelm beforehand, so
True.
I guess it balances out.
Not a flavor fail.
Yeah, so
look at it that way.
So top end, if you go full Rainbow Miracle Prism Spectrum thing, then you get a 3/3 Overwhelm, Decay, Aegis, double damage, lifesteal. I think this guy's just too cute, honestly. There's enough random, I guess, influence in the format. You're right. You have, like, for example, those spells, the 5-cost spells that give you 2 influence of a different, but still just 2 influence of one other faction. I just don't. Yeah, I think if you get this off, you're super cute. It's great, but at what cost to your influence, right? That means you're not playing any of the 4 influence cost cards, etc., etc. I don't know. I put this guy as a D. It's probably an F2, but someone's gonna play him.
No, I don't think he's that bad, because he's like, a factionless 1/1 decay, right? Like that's like gonna be something. With any support, like anything with decay is decent. I think enabling the 1 pip of each is not, impossible. I think if you pack one, pick one, this guy, because you want to have a little fun in draft, I think it won't be that hard to make it a 3/3 decay Overwhelm. I think you're living in fantasy land, though, if you're going for that, that last 15 influence. Like that'll never happen in draft. I don't think there's quite enough support for that. If you do take a screenshot, that'd be pretty crazy. But no, I think the baseline is a little higher. I give him a C minus.
Okay, Alex.
I gave him an F. I'm not.
All right.
I mean, I love what John said. If you want to have fun, first pick this card and go to town. But I don't think the support is there for the power, even to get the first +2/+2 and Overwhelm. So yeah, I'm not gonna be picking this card.
Yeah, I probably won't either.
Okay, we'll
You're
even
not wrong.
out at a D then. So all you brewers out there and like doing the cute stuff, you still have, there's a line of hope, a silver lining. All right, next up is the absolute easiest A+ we will probably ever give on this show for any card ever. Wasteland Broker is a 4/5 merchant. That's right, a merchant. 4/5 merchant at 4 power and no influence, neutral. That means it goes in every deck. 4/5 for 4 is already very, very well statted. Moving on, summon. But wait, there's more. Summon. You may put a card from your market and 3 additional copies of it into the top 20 cards of your deck. Yes, that's right. If it sounds weird to you, it's because you don't have to trade a card to pull a card. You just pull the card from your market, but instead of going to your hand, it goes in the top 20 cards of your deck with 3 more copies of it. This card is absolute busted. John, go ahead and just break it down, bro.
You already did a good job. I
Yeah.
don't think I can't give it an A+ though, like, because it's only as good as the cards in your market, right? Like, you have to be careful, like, with popping this guy off on 4 with anything that costs more than 4 if you don't already have the power to play it, because then you're like, you could just be sabotaging yourself. Like, I think you're always going to pick this, and I think you're going to be looking during the draft for something awesome for the market. And like, for a market for this guy, I think you want like some sort of cheap, like cycling type option, like a levitate, which also can push damage. I think is like a perfect option. Something like Seed of Creation is decent, And then like I've played this guy with like a predatory Carnosaur, and like I would just always play him when I had the 6 power, and it was fantastic there too. But like, it needs something. So I only gave it an A, not an A+. Yeah, it's very good.
See, and I beg to differ, because I mean, you put a removal spell in there, you put a B unit that above average, right? An uncommon that's really strong. Then all of a sudden you have 4 of those. It just, I don't know. I feel like you'd be very hard pressed to go wrong with this card. Yes, I agree with you.
Removal spells like that in many of my drafts, like an unconditional removal spell that you'd want 4 copies of no matter what. Like, I'm getting more things, more like 6 cost removal spells. I don't know about you.
I mean, Death Strike is in the format.
I'm just getting unlucky. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, unlucky by drafting back-to-back brokers.
Like, I mean, you're literally saying the same thing I said, which is like, the quality of your card in the market is what makes this good.
Yeah, but I don't think it has to be absolutely amazing. I think any card that you want to have in your deck, you'd be happy to just put it,
Alex, surely you didn't give this an A+ too, right?
I just gave it an A.
Okay. Either way, I think it's funny that we're arguing between A and A+.
Yeah, that's fine.
I only gave the one A+. I don't think this is an island level. I gotta at least. Like, I thought that was so special. Like, the A+ for island. No, this guy too.
Do you have anything to add about it, Alex?
I mean, worst case scenario, I played it in a game where I didn't get anything from my market, and it was still a 4/5 for 5, and I won that game. It's just,
yeah, I think that's actually the right call. And like, I think you're going to be surprised the number of draft games where you just need to play out your 4/5 on turn 4 just to stabilize and things. So.
And that's still completely serviceable. Like,
yeah, but that's not, you're not describing an A if you're just playing a 4/5 for 4.
But the fact that that's the floor of it. Anyways, it's irrelevant. We're pulling at strings here or whatever, pulling at threads with A and A+. It's just drafted. Then always take it.
That's fair.
All right, let's move on. Can't believe tilted you on A+.
Easiest A+ ever is what you said. I think that's completely wrong.
All right, whatever. You're allowed to have your opinion. All right, last card in the set. World Pyre. This is a legendary relic for 4 power, no influence. Once per turn, you may pay 4 to play a card from your hand with cost equal to or less than your total influence. So the trick here is it doesn't have influence. It doesn't care about influence requirements. So if you have 4 influence, period, let's say two Combre, right? You have two justice, 2 time. You can fire off a sharpshooter, a rebel sharpshooter from your hand because it costs less than the total amount of influence you have. The other side to it as well is the fact that you are doubling on your power when you play things that give you 2 influence, i.e. symbols that give you 2 red or 2 time will equal, 2 power essentially for World Pyre, as well as things like the vows, well, not the vows, but banners and the silexes or whatnot. John.
Yeah, I think if you pack one, pick one this in your draft and you try and build around it, I think you're sabotaging yourself for 0 wins every time. I give it an F.
I gave it an F as well. It's like too much work. You take a whole turn off to do something the next turn. This is like a constructed card.
Literally, like you won't be able to play anything if you try and build around this because you just won't draw it. And then what are you like? You can't. You probably can't cast any of your cards or something like. Not a draft card.
Yeah, I gave it a D because I feel like there might be a little bit of even in a monocolor, but you're just being cute. Don't play this card, guys. Like really, you could. There's better things to do with your 4 slot, especially in this format. So, yeah, and I'll do it, man. That's we got there. So. The multicolor cards, man, they definitely make
spicy.
Yeah, this is gonna be a super fun format to draft. Like so much going on, so many things. The possibilities are absolutely endless. Overall, I think Direwolf did an absolute great job on this. I'm super excited about I've already been enjoying the format. I think rarely have I had 2 decks line up very similar. There are some cards that are starting to be front runners. We'll talk more next week about in the first impression show, but overall, man, I think this is great. What about you guys?
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, exciting. Nice complex set with a lot of fun cards that do a bunch of crazy things. I love it.
I like the last format. It took a while to grow on me, and this one I'm in love with immediately. So I think it's definitely calling my name way more than the last one did.
Yep.
I think it's it's fun, powerful.
All right, sweet guys. Well, that's gonna do it. Once again, these have been some long shows, so we're gonna cut things and get straight to the point. This one is gonna come out early because we want to try to get this information out to you as quickly as possible, and we had the time to do it. So at some point, do expect maybe a small gap to get us back on track. But thank you guys so much for listening. Of course, you can catch the video version of this as well as other draft videos. I'm about to post one today at the end of the show on YouTube. Just search up EternalJourney. We will catch it there. And hopefully, eventually I can convince John and Alex to start doing their own videos on there as well. You can catch us live every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ. And of course, for the shameless plug, I am trying to make another push for a partner. And I think we're really close this time. So if you don't mind swinging by, hanging out for a little bit, saying hi, and then going into lurk mode, that would be great. I said it. And then of course, Discord. Join the Discord, link down below. Man, it is absolutely great. We have decks coming up all the time. It's a new month. So the Sealed League, I've worked on 5 different sealed decks this week alone, which has been a ton of fun. So definitely do that. And of course, we all help each other navigate the format as well. John, Alex, thank you guys so much for being on the show and putting up with me. And
that was a blast.
Yeah.
Yep, good times.
You guys are great, man. Thank you guys so much. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. We'll catch you next week for our first impression shows. Until then, as always, happy gaming.
Bye.
Good luck in your draft queues, everyone. And remember, it probably will make a good MU target.
Nice.